Vote Daniel Bordman, and I promise the most foreign interference of all time. I will fund every terrorist organization with your tax dollars every day.
Justin Trudeau quote on why you're bringing ISIS fighters back. They can be a powerful voice for de-radicalization. Oh, brilliant! So we're going to have terrorists in our country, and we're going to de-radicalize them with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
The day Trump has won the election and he was declared the president-elect, and look at the news segments of fentanyl drug busts, border drug busts, border illegal trafficking controlled, new rules of immigration and tighter rules of immigration, all done in Canada. It cannot be a coincidence.
I'll be running for Prime Minister of Canada here in India. I'll be interfering with your country, my country, wherever you're watching this. I'm currently interfering in your country's politics by default. Trudeau to India is this annoying buzzing fly that
So now tell me about the Khalistan movement. Does it get affected at all with Trudeau's exit?
A lot of people think that Justin Trudeau gave Khalistanis a free run even more because of Jagmeet Singh's pressure. Look at what Justin Trudeau was doing with the Khalistanis when he had the single government, like on his own. He was doing the same things.
Why do you think Trudeau chose this moment? Why didn't he do it earlier? Why now?
His rule is fully untenable, and he had to do something because he's gotten away with so many scandals, so many different things, and he's thrown so many people under the bus. Jody Wilson-Raybould, Jane Philpott, two, minister women who are, very popular, but he got rid of them.
What happens to the 6 in Canada who don't?
They are the biggest victims. My biggest worry is the Khalistanis have destroyed the image of the honest, hardworking Sikh in Canada.
I'm here. It's 100% funded by Modi. At his request, he was there with me on the airplane. He gave me a piggyback ride onto the plane, and then he literally picked me up and brought me here.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. My guests today are Kushal Mehra and Daniel Bordman. Kushal Mehra is author, podcaster, and Daniel Bordman is a senior correspondent with the National Telegraph. He's a geopolitical analyst and is based in Canada. Kushal has appeared on this show before. We discuss India-Canada relations in a post-Trudeau Canada. Both my guests today have a wicked sense of humor, so it's going to be a rocking conversation. And for those of you who've been writing in with comments and suggestions, thank you very much. But a point of order. If you are writing in to say that I interrupt the guests too much, let me tell you, this is a conversation that I have with my guests. It's not a question-answer session where I don't have inputs. I do have inputs. It is a podcast. It's not a Q&A. So here I am discussing India-Canada relations with Kushal and Daniel. Daniel, thank you. I'll begin with you. How does it feel to be in India doing foreign interference?
Well, it feels good because I had to get you guys back because you guys have interfered in Canada. Okay. And as we know, foreign interference is doing stuff in India. Also tweeting. Okay. I think any tweet made in India is foreign interference. That's what I've learned. Yeah, the Chinese bought 11 of our MPs and they own the parliament, but that's nothing. Tweeting is the real big problem. So I'm here to get even with your country, and I've been interfering with your politics locally, domestically, generally undermining national security around. And I'm not quite sure if I'm interfering in Canadian politics or Indian politics or both. It's like sort of Schrodinger's foreign interference. Right? Am I a Canadian agent in India, an Indian agent in Canada, a Canadian Indian agent in India? Who really knows?
Okay, what are you?
I don't really know because I'm trying to... I'm a good Canadian citizen, right? Okay. And I believe in real news, okay? And I've been told I'm fake news. So I don't really know what's going on.
You're a bot.
I'm a bot.
No, I'm the bot.
He's a
bot.
You're
the bot.
I'm suspicious.
Okay. You're suspicious.
He's a bot. I'm suspicious. You might be a robot. We'll find out.
And for those of you who don't understand what's going on and you're not on social media, I think we'll need to now get off this wagon and you need to explain what it's all about.
So seriously explain. So Canada has a big problem with foreign interference. We're like the money laundering capital of the world. We have lots of banking institutions. We have good banking. We have bad banking. And the main culprits are the CCP, the IRGC, the Islamic Revolution Guard in Iran, the ISI, and there's some, mafia influences, but it's a pretty peaceful country for the most part. However, there was a major scandal that broke with the CCP, right? Trudeau's always been very friendly with the CCP for his entire existence, goes back to his father. And we had good information that there are 11 members of our parliament that are, actual potential foreign assets. You look at some of the tweeting, I could probably name more than 11 that I'm suspicious of, but that was sort of the inception of it. Then you had last September when Niger got killed and gunned down outside his Gurdwara. This then became, after there was this big hubbub about Chinese foreign interference and this Chinese scandal, and we need to get to the bottom of this. A couple weeks later, right, the Justin Trudeau gets up in the middle of Parliament, accuses India of killing, noble Sikh activist, suicide bomber enthusiast Hardip Singh Nijjar. And
he's a plumber.
A plumber, yes.
A plumber.
Yes. And,
Who was barred from entering Canada at one point of time.
Twice.
Right?
Actually, it took third time's the charm. So he tried to get in, failed, tried a fake marriage, failed, and then somehow got in on the third time. And, then became a model Canadian citizen, generally threatening.
Hashtag sarcasm.
Yes. You know what? So the whole thing is like, oh my God, we have a real foreign interference problem. And Trudeau's been negligent on it. So then, friend of India and the world, Jagmeet Singh, he says, okay, we're going to back a foreign interference inquiry, and he adds in India. He just starts saying, oh, and then India. And you go, like, what's this about India? So then they throw in the India angle. In my view, the point of the India angle was to distract from the Chinese angle because he was so inept on foreign interference in China and Iran. Like the IRGC worst terrorist attack.
He is not Jagmeet. You mean Trudeau.
Sorry, Trudeau,
okay.
the Prime Minister. They're both bad. They're both bad on the counterterrorism angle, but for the most part, okay. So Trudeau's really, really bad on hostile foreign interference, okay? Even the second worst terrorist attack in Canadian history was the IRGC shooting an airplane out of the sky. Worst is the Khalistani era India, which I'm sure you're all more familiar with. So, in my view, he threw in the India angle and then went DEFCON 1 immediately, kicking the Indian ambassador out to say, look how tough I am on foreign interference. And they threw in that India's doing tons of foreign interference. My original guess to that, which I think has been proven right, is they are counting Khalistani foreign interference as India foreign interference. So while Khalistanis are threatening to, air India and all these different things, who killed Niger, Indian government, who killed, right, kill Modi politics, this is all being counted as Indian foreign interference. So my original line, week one of this scandal from over a year ago was, here we have a story of Pakistani foreign interference marketed as Indian foreign interference to cover up Chinese foreign interference. So that has kind of always been the thing. So Trudeau and Jagmeet are going hard on foreign interference and attacking India because India's not doing enough, barely any foreign interference in Canada. Because, again, in order to do foreign interference in another country, you need to have organizations to infiltrate. So the Chinese there's Chinese councils and newspapers, and they've managed to infiltrate them, throw out, and threaten dissidents and put their people into these organizations. The Hindus have nothing, okay? Or next to nothing, right? There's no organizational structures. Hindus come to Canada, Indians come to Canada. They go, I'm here for a better life. It's the promise of the West. Put your nose down, work hard, you'll be able to buy a house and provide a better opportunity for your children. And that's what the Indians generally do is I work hard, I get a thing, I make sure my kids go to grades. They're an engineer, good, get married, now I have grandkids, which is the deal. There's no, the biggest Hindu organization, the one that, it's a couple years old, it's an offshoot of an American organization, and it's 3 volunteers. So if you were to infiltrate and take this over as the Indian government, it
doesn't make sense.
It has no, there's no actual concentrated political power in the Hindu organizations, even to infiltrate for any gain. So I've always sort of been able to be I know,
how did you get involved in this? In the sense that were you reporting it? How did Daniel get into it?
So I've always been interested in stuff like this. We live in a very kind and tolerant country as Canada. We're very nice and we hate racism. However, I've always been aware that the general, liberal tolerance doesn't always apply. I want you to know, I'm Jewish, okay? So I know that sometimes, I know a person with like, Nazi apparel can't go marching into a Jewish day school and say, "See, Kyle, Jews are that." Oh no, we will shut that down. We love the Jews. The Holocaust is bad. However, Abdul al-Rahim, can get up at a Muslim Brotherhood affiliated mosque and say, "Death to all the Jews. They're apes and pigs and monkeys. Kill, 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 murder, rape, kill, 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 kill all of them." And if you criticize that, you're the racist. So I've always known that lunatics can go and scream and threaten to kill people in Canada as long as it's not in English and it has some things. So I've known about the Khalistanis blew up an airplane. I'm a crazy person and I'm generally interested in like counterterrorism and whatever. And like I've always had the instinct to like want to talk about things like that no one wants to talk about. And Canada like loves burying our heads in the sand. So when like issues of counterterrorism come up, it like comes to me out of like just a vacuum. Like I'm a former comedian turned like independent journalist because there's no one else who would talk about things in the Trudeau area. And there's just a vacuum. And like I've always been a history nerd and a politics nerd. Like this is just interesting stuff. Like people are scared of it, but it's like I'm interested. Why would someone blow up an airplane full of people and like why
Canadian.
Mostly Canadians, right? And then there's like, I'm a proud Canadian and I feel a lot of like disgust, like patriotic disgust at the way we handled Air India, where Mulroney just said, "Oh, sorry, India." It's like, no, those are Canadians, right? And, the Air India, like, obviously the worst part is the blowing up of the airplanes and the mass murdering. But there is a real, like, the aftermath of Air India and the way we handled it, like, is a pretty close second in the sort of like disturbingness and the family's not ever got justice, and in my view, it's both sides of the political racism scale. Okay, part of it is the classic, what you would call right-wing racism, where who cares? They're just a bunch of brown people, right? Sorry, India. No, they're Canadians. Yeah, they're brown, right? The other half of it is like the soft bigotry of low expectations, left-wing type racism of, well, there's social justice. They must have had a reason to do this or that. It's a grievance thing. You don't understand their culture. Sometimes people, eat foods you don't understand. Sometimes they blow up airplanes. You just got to be taller. Like that type of nonsense. So these moral...
Sometimes they blow up.
Yeah. Like this is... And it sounds ridiculous, but this is kind of the ethos of the Canadian left. So because there are no white people involved, right, from both sides of it, you got like, at best, incompetence. We'll leave it there. So the Khalistanis are involved in a lot of shenanigans. I know they work hand in glove with the Muslim Brotherhood. They work hand in glove with, far left. So if you were to like come as an Indian and like listen to what Khalistanis say in Canada, it would be very different than what they were saying in Punjab region in the 80s and 90s. Because now it's kind of morphed to like co-opt modern social justice language. And again, they work with the Muslim Brotherhood. So Khalistan is kind of like a Palestine, where it's like invent history, invent new things. Like they've, used those tactics because when you use that, there's institutions that are very open to that. Like university academia, if you kind of be like, Sikh, you do the oppressor oppressed. If you treat Sikhs like they're black people in Jim Crow era and Hindus like they're white people in Jim Crow era, and you say this is the type of racism, there's a whole system that will just...
But when you do this kind of reporting, when you're tweeting, when you come on Indian television channels and those parts get aired on Twitter, now known as X, or YouTube or whatever, do people turn around and say things to you back in Canada?
Like, I mean... Yeah,
in the sense that why you doing this and it's why you interested in
it's sort
destabilizing Trudeau regime.
No, because everyone, like the people of Canada hate Trudeau, right? And he's been very, very unpopular for a long time.
We've had Kushal on the show telling us that.
Yeah, no, it's like, again, it's a coalition thing. He only won his last time in a minority because the Conservative leader was such a dolt. He tried to beat Trudeau. And like, if the Conservative leader, Aaron O'Toole, he was a genius politician. Instead of attacking the Liberals and showing where he's different, he did the whole thing like, you know what? He didn't attack Trudeau's policies. He just attacked him for his like buffoonery. He basically said we would do center-left woke nonsense more efficiently and more dignified than they would. people went, we want a conservative party. And he spent all his time, he never really attacked the liberal ideology. He was attacking the conservative base. Like if you looked at a political party convention is supposed to build internal momentum among the base. I have never, like the Conservatives under O'Toole, when they ran a convention, they kept it online. They like blocked everyone out. They were getting booed because no one liked the policy. I've never seen a political convention have someone lose momentum, but they managed to do that. So the Conservative Party of Canada has a political playbook, and it goes load gun, point at foot, pull trigger. And it's not effective, but we keep doing it. Now, the new leader, Pierre Poilievre, has a crazy strategy, and he's trying to win the election. So that's why he's up by, 30 points sometimes in crazy margins, where even if you merge the Liberal NDP party together, they're still not going to beat the Conservatives because he's doing a crazy try and win the election strategy. And the Canadian establishment is freaking out. And it's kind of like a lot of the attacks on Indian media I've known is just pure projection from Canadian media. Because they're bought and paid for now by Trudeau. Trudeau bought the media. He bailed them out. Literally, he bailed out print media.
Godi media.
Literally, Godi media.
Because I explained it to him what Godi media is.
Godi media, yeah. Kushal, you were here when Trudeau resigned. And I think a couple of days after we shot the year-ender episode. What was your reaction that here Daniel lands in India and there Trudeau resigns? Did you see a grand design?
There is a grand design because since the last 2 years, I land in Canada, Trudeau picks up a fight with India in 2022. I go back in, 23.
23.
Then I go back in 24. He picks up a fight again as if he did not have enough fun in 23. Now, I was like, okay, now it's Daniel's time to come to India. Enough of me going there. So Daniel comes to India. Trudeau's like, I'm going to resign. Screw all of you. That's it. I've had enough of all of you. It has been, I have never seen... Listen, in India, we've seen unpopular leaders.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like Indira Gandhi after emergency.
Yeah.
Smita, that's the only example I can give you of the level of hatred. And I say hatred with seriousness. I'll give you a small story. My father-in-law's garage guy, just the average conservative Canadian in a very small town. And we're going there. And it was the funniest moment. It's like... Oh, so my father-in-law introduces me and he tells him hey, he covers politics. And the first question is do you like Trudeau? And I was like, what am I supposed to do here? I was
will you change my tires?
It's like, yo, man, I don't like Trudeau, but is it fine? I was like, okay, come in, brother. He would have refused my business if I was a Trudeau supporter.
There's so many...
Did he get it? Didn't he know?
Oh my God, he's such a narcissist.
Why was he clinging on to power?
G7?
He says, I think, I do think, and I've said this a lot, and I mean this, it's funny, but Justin Trudeau's political idol is Greta Thunberg. It is funny, but no, when he saw a semi-Swedish teenager sailing on a boat, and everyone going, wow, and the Europeans going, wow, and Western leftists going, wow. He wants it. He's always wanted to finish his run as Prime Minister of Canada and then go to the UN and the EU and then everywhere. You saw it on the first visit to India. He's just all dressed up in the thing and all... That
was, I think, the most disastrous visit by a head of government, head of state also.
I remember you covering it at that time also, and you were so irritated that why is he dancing?
Why is he doing this? I mean, you can dance, yes, fine. But he was... cringe.
It's looking down at us. That's the problem. It's
at
looking
a press
down.
briefing, he would start dancing.
He also looks down on Canadians, right?
Yeah.
So, he does think Indians are dirt, okay? You're dirt and beneath him. But everyone's dirt and beneath him unless you're Mark Carney or Carol Butts or,
But if somebody treats him like dirt, which is what Donald Trump is doing, that's okay with him.
But look at what he's done in the recent, was it CNN that he went just now?
CNN.
And he says, well, for us Canadians... our primary identities were not America. That's the worst
on
answer.
CNN,
Is he Pakistan?
Yeah.
That's the Pakistani answer. We're not India.
We are not India. Yeah.
In 2015, he said, we're the first post-national country
2017.
with no... 2017?
17. New York Magazine.
Oh, no.
And frankly, there was no need for him to say that. He's talking about California. He's talking about the wildfires there. What was the need to say this?
But he's also said we have no core identity.
No.
But that's a serious, like.
No, he said when he was asked, I think what he was trying to say is that if Donald Trump said this and he said that we are proud of our identity, and he says, and one of the reasons is, and then he explains that.
Well, I mean, like the old quarter, this is the pre-Donald Trump thing, is like,
Yeah.
but he's an airhead, right? Like.
But he's been in power for 10 years.
Because Canada is a default liberal country. And like he has the media, right? So the media in Canada is the pretty much the press arm of the Liberal Party of Canada. And yeah, Post media is, you can say, more conservative friendly and all that. But when it came down to it, like the Freedom Convoy, the Post media and all the what was whipped sort of and said, no, we're going to because that was like the biggest threat to the Canadian establishment ever. Because the Canadians actually do have a core identity. And part of that is like when Canadians are pushed, they will march and meet a challenge and meet it calmly and steadfastly. Like our history is like built on the battlefields of Europe. And like there was a distinct learning in the First World War that we're not Europeans. We are frontier people. We're fundamentally, we came back to Europe. They had all these silly notions of war and like, you know, the French officer would wear white gloves and they would not run at machine guns because that's rude. You walk and show your dignity. You're not scared. And then they all died in 1914 with their crazy ideas and like, we will ride a horse like this. And then like and then like all that. But the Canadians came and instantly like just started problem solving. It's like, you must take that gun. And it's like, okay, instead of 10,000 of us charging in the middle of daylight, how about we do a night raid? Like the Canadians started the night raids and were far more successful than all the European armies when they just sent like 30 guys in the middle of the night stealthily to take positions. And initially, the British were really snooty about it. Like, these rubes, these Forentia, these lunatics. But then, like, results and war pressures go like, that's actually a thing. Like, there's a story of, like, the Canadians invented, like, a mobile light machine gun unit in the First World War. Like, basically, you know, attaching a machine gun to moving it around and moving fastly to shoot at Germans. The British, it's not war. And then the story is like the king King George came to inspect a camp and then was going around and goes, oh, what's this? And then he goes, they explained, oh, it's a light machine. And they explained like what it was for. And then he goes, oh, what a brilliant idea. And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, so tell me how it goes. And then they deployed it to the battlefield. And turns out like fast moving, you know, high volume, you know, shooters are a pretty good weapon of war and then had lots of success. You know, there's Vimy Ridge and we could do 4 hours on Canadian military history. This is another... Again, I'm a crazy person, so this is where a lot of it comes from. But I'm saying the Canadian identity is, if there's a problem, like those truckers there, they all went and like, I would interview them at night and walk around and like, they understood they were doing, like they were marching to Thermopylae. Like they didn't expect, like they fully expected that they would, the weight of the state would come down on them. But like, we're here to end the mandates to get the country back. Canada was a COVID authoritarian state. We were losing our freedoms. They were using COVID and emergency measures to justify more and more seizure of power and control of the state and everything.
Why do you think Trudeau chose this moment? Why didn't he do it earlier? Why now? If he wants to host the G20, why now?
Because, okay, so his rule is fully untenable and he had to do something because he's gotten away with so many scandals, so many different things, and he's thrown so many people under the bus. Jody Wilson-Raybould, Jane Philpott, two, you know, minister women who are, you know, very popular, but he got rid of them. And the new the economy is in total shambles. And the new fall economic statement, they didn't even release it fall. They released it the very last day where they would be in like legal trouble if they didn't put it out. And like they had set like a hard deficit, like we're not going to go over a $40 billion deficit, which is still a crazy number, but it ended up being $62 billion. Now it actually ended up being $72 billion because they fudged the numbers. So he wanted to throw someone to the wolves. So the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, who was also deputy prime minister, it was her turn to be thrown under the bus. And God King Trudeau came up to her and said, under the bus, Chrystia. And Chrystia said, no, and grabbed onto him, and they both went under the bus. She pulled the, you can't fire me.
I like the imagery.
Yeah.
Right now.
But see, I think a lot of people, and Daniel and I, we have discussed this on our show a lot. He's still the prime minister.
Yeah, till March.
He can prorogue again.
He can prorogue again.
I will trust whether he's the prime minister or not on March 25th. Come and talk to me on March 25th because it's prorogued till 24th. I'm assuming on 25th he can prorogue it again. There is nothing in Canadian law that stops them from proroguing.
But he's like a lame duck PM right now.
He is.
Who cares?
Does he have the same powers like if...
Okay, so they like by proroguing Parliament and shutting it down and saying he's going to resign, all the bills that are going through Parliament are dead. So he can't no legislation is going to pass.
That's what I'm saying. So
it's a show thing, but he's even called himself just a figurehead. When he said
it doesn't matter to him.
But
he wants that.
No, his political hero is Greta.
He doesn't need to do anything.
No, he doesn't need to do anything. His political hero is Greta Thunberg. He wants to call himself president, and he's doing that. This year, when I'm president of the G20 and G7, he wants to just be president of the G7.
Smita,
it means nothing to most people.
What do you want to leave your opponent? You want to leave a country in shambles so that after 4 years, 5 years...
After me, the deluge, yeah.
They can come back again. So the liberal strategy right now, if I was a liberal strategist sitting in that office, my idea is I want to ruin everything before I hand it over to Pierre Poilievre. And so that Pierre cannot recover from it. Because how is Pierre going to fix a $70 billion deficit? He cannot. So Pierre... See, he is pretty much in this obsession of green. Canada was a resource-rich country. He converted a resource-rich country to a real estate. Canada is Plotistan now.
Pakistan.
Yeah, right. Canada is a real estate country. A giant chunk of that economy is now real estate.
Which is money laundering from fentanyl through the CCP.
I don't remember the exact number, but a good 20 to 25%, you can fact check me on that, of Canadian employment now is through government jobs. That's not healthy.
Yeah, he's growing. He's growing right. He's growing the bureaucracy to inflate the jobs numbers. So we have bureaucrats doing nothing, sucking on the government teeth. So we can say, look, we added 200,000 jobs, and it's like diversity officer in the Forest Commission to make sure that the rabbits are. There's enough transgender rabbits at or whatever.
Tampons in the men's room.
So tampons in the men's room. Yeah, Minister of Tampons and Vice President of Tampons in the men's room.
Look at Canada as California on steroids.
Yeah, with snow.
Yeah, California on steroids with snow is what Canada is. For Pierre Poilievre to fix this mess, it's not going to be easy.
Presuming he's going to win.
He's going to win by a landslide.
He's going to win. It's going to be a landslide.
It's going to be a landslide because also think about it. Let's say it's Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney. I just want Mark Gerritsen to be the next Liberal Party leader.
So let's go. I was going to go into it later about who are the likely people.
Yeah, but who's going to take over?
Okay, so I'm going to just before likely people, I'm going to get on the Chrystia because I'll finish this point. You asked why now.
Yeah.
So when Chrystia Freeland and him went under the bus, you can ignore a lot of scandals if it's SNC-Left, the media on your side. But Chrystia Freeland was a mediocre woman. She's not stupid, but she's not a smart, competent woman. And built up as this feminist hero, right? Chrystia Freeland the Great, she's a genius. She's a feminist icon. Little girls, in Uttar Pradesh and in New Delhi and in Canada are all playing with the Chrystia Freeland action hero because she's the great whatever. You can ignore evil Trudeau and you can do that. You can't ignore mommy and daddy fighting. So the CBC and the Canadian media, when Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau are fighting, that you can't ignore because they're both, one is the God King, one is the God Queen. So you had that, and internally in the Liberal Party, it's been run with an iron fist through the Prime Minister's office, the unelected bureaucrats. So there's two factions in the Liberal Party now. One is led by Katie Telford, and she's the one with the hand up Justin Trudeau going like that. And the other one is Chrystia Freeland, and she kind of leads the less sycophantic MPs who believe that the elected MPs should have some power. They don't really believe in... They all believe in the same destroy Canada policy.
So she has no chance in the
party?
party?
She will win if they did the primaries, but
like she's
the top runner?
She's the top
well,
one.
The top is none of the above.
The top is none of the above. But if
so
Chrystia Freeland...
why did Chandra Arya get into trouble? Because he can't speak French? Why was he attacked?
Well, he got attacked because
he said no when said, can you speak French? Yeah, he can't speak French or English.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Chandra Arya moved to Canada in his 40s. And Chandra Arya is just a politician with no real principles or anything. He's just another one of the, he's a cardboard cutout. And then when the Khalistanis attacked him, he said Khalistan is bad. So by anti-Khalistan standards, he knows what Khalistan is because they threaten to kill him all the time. And he doesn't want to die. I think that's one of his principles is Chandra Arya should still be alive.
What about Anita Anand?
the less I say
money,
better.
money.
See, I just want people to allegedly look up these alleged links of the COVID lab testing times where one minister,
Her husband got sole source contracts for hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, again, this is what the Liberals do. They just give their spouses or their friends hundreds of millions of dollars
Google
in
that.
government contracts.
Okay.
So
whose
again,
husband got the contracts for the entire lab testing. You remember, every country, you had to pay for COVID testing. Canada, the government paid for it. Who bagged the contract?
What about Melanie Jolie? She's been good to India, right?
She just dropped out of the race.
Do you know the Melanie Jolie quote? So she's been a Hamas fan, and when I can't remember who asked her, but someone asked her about like, Mel, why are you doing that? She says, "Have you looked at the demographics of my riding?" The foreign minister openly admitted that she makes her foreign policy based on the demographics of her riding. So Melanie Jolie is a fundamentally unserious person. She got her start as heritage
When did
manager.
she quit?
She just dropped out of the prime minister's race a couple of days ago, I think.
Yeah, she didn't.
Okay.
Well, she didn't.
So she
judge-
was like,
yeah, I don't want.
He's not going to. Who will put in money right now if Pierre Poilievre is going to win anyway?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Mark Carney, who's not in power.
Okay.
So Mark Carney is like an international banker type thing, and it makes sense for him to be it because and I think they want Carney.
He was the economic advisor to Trudeau. So if the economy is doing so well, as you're saying, well in the sense of putting it in quotes, why would Canada vote for him?
They won't. But it's why does Carney want it? Carney's the only one that makes sense why he'd want it. So Chrystia Freeland is more popular among the Liberal base because they've been told that she's like the messiah for feminism or whatever it is. But the problem is if Chrystia Freeland takes the reins now and then runs against Poilievre, she'll get blown out. She'll be known as the one who, she could become, we've already had the first female Prime Minister of Canada, which was Kim Campbell, which was sort of this Chrystia Freeland thing where like the Mulroney government was in shambles and then they put in Kim Campbell and she kind of, it was like doing this and then Kim Campbell took over here and, crashed, finished the crash of the plane into the ground. And then the Conservative Party got wiped out back in the day. So we've already had a lame duck female Prime Minister. If Chrystia Freeland actually wants to be Prime Minister, she wouldn't run this time. She would let someone else do it, and she would
preparation, right?
She would come back, probably in 8 years, and make a real shot of it as like, okay, Chrystia Freeland's
And there's a
come
learning
back.
from Kamala Harris. If you suddenly become, you need time to prepare. I guess to fight an election.
If he's the prime minister till March, and
if he is the prime minister till March,
I don't know.
Till June,
What if they do the primaries before that, right? The
G7
constitution
is June, right?
No, but the constitution of the Liberal Party says that you need to have a 90-day process minimum to select a new leader. Obviously, the Liberal Party of Canada and the process of the Liberal Party of Canada is wonderful, but that's for later on. What we need to look at is if March they have a parliamentary session, they will have to have a new leader of the Liberal Party. If they are not, I have a hunch, I could be wrong, that they're just going to say, oh, well, we could not do the process of electing a new leader. Till then, Trudeau remains the Prime Minister. We prorogue for another 3 months.
Trump's putting tariffs on us and the parliament's paralyzed, the country's paralyzed. But they'll do it to same center-left, what do you call the globalist line of we need to protect democracy by shutting down the will of the people, right? Democracy is important, which is why we can't have people voting or anywhere involved in the process. Because they don't know. They're stupid. We're smart. Look at the suits I'm wearing. Right? Look, it's Mark Carney, friend of Ghislaine Maxwell. He's democracy. You like democracy? Right? So he'll be Prime Minister of Canada because he's a banker and then he can run around calling himself former Prime Minister of Canada. So that's his thing. He'll never be in power, but he'll get to be Prime Minister for a month and then call himself former Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. And then as he runs around to international institutions and speaking events and whatever, he can
get the big bucks.
Right, he can get big bucks. He can write a book.
And he can also say, he tried to save Trudeau's sinking ship. That's the only thing. For Chrystia Freeland, it's actually career suicide. She would not do it because she's a proper politician. For Mark Carney, he was a banker. He comes in, he tries to resurrect the economy. He can go down as a martyr. Chrystia Freeland has everything to lose.
Okay, I'm going to move the conversation towards India now a little bit. Kushal, I'm going to ask you this. Under Trudeau's tenure from 2015 to 23 and continuing, the data for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, shows that 1.3 million Indian students received educational permits. In 2015, 31,920 Indian students held study permits, representing 14% of all international students. By 2023, when the data came out, that number has increased to 278,250, which means 40.7%, from 14.5 to 40.7% of the total international student population. Now, what happens to the future of those students now? Will the new regime, when it comes in, which is in March or June this year, will they change it? Will the temporary foreign worker program, which Trudeau introduced and which Pierre has said that it's ruined Canada, will that change?
It's already changed. Mark Miller has pretty much shut the doors on immigration already. The LMIA 50 point extra point loophole, they're trying to plug it. They are struggling with it because of the backlog. There is so much backlog, but I think that is also going to be plugged eventually. See, right now, if you're an immigration consultant in Canada, you have to read so much paperwork because every third day the immigration law is changing, and you just have to follow Canadian immigration YouTube. It's the most hilarious time to follow Canadian immigration YouTube because every day they give a video. Oh, sorry, now I have to change my version because now there is a new letter from Mark Miller.
No, how do they do this? Doesn't it need to go to Parliament? Doesn't it need
They're
to be
just
voted?
winging it. They're just winging it.
They don't know. Like, the whole system, they kind of just, again,
It doesn't have to go
It's
through
all been
Parliament.
willy-nilly. They kind of changed the ideas. It was just feel-good,
The ministry can
anti-racism
change
stuff
laws.
for that. And then,
Yeah, ministry can change laws, right? So try and understand, this is not a bill. They're not passing a bill or a motion. I'll give you an example. What really ruined it was after COVID. After COVID, they just opened the floodgates, the Trudeau government. I think this was the deal that Trudeau, I have no evidence of
No,
it. This
he
is
brought
my
in the
hunch.
Syrians, he brought in everybody,
but
right?
so part of it was like feel good, but
I think
also
that's his
it's
deal
also
with
it's also a
Jagmeet
GDP
Singh.
scam. Okay, so there's some of that. Okay, there's some
Yeah,
there's
that's
some
okay.
actual nefarious actors, right? There's Muslim Brotherhood simps, there's IRGC people, there's CCP people, and they're bringing in their people to infiltrate and gain power and leverage in Canada to probably then try and get into the United States and whatever, because they're nefarious bad actors. And there's some of that going on, and there's some other nefarious thing. Is like, what's the number one what's the number one industry in Canada right now? We shut down the resource industry. It's money laundering and human trafficking. Sorry, and that's what you call real estate, right? So, if you go to Mississauga, right? People are renting out their basements for extra rent. You can do that, but you own a house and you have a basement to rent to. Are you going to rent to a single mother with 2 kids who can pay you $2,500 a month? Or are you going to rent to 13 foreign students all at $1,500 a month and then do that? So now real estate values have gone up. But again, that's money laundering, human trafficking, and then the LMIAs, people are paying for them. So it's a whole, when society breaks down and you have no core identity and no one has allegiance to the flag, or the country doesn't mean anything and it's willy-nilly, it just becomes an exploitation game. And a lot of these people are exploited by the people in their own communities because they don't know the laws. If you speak Punjabi at them and you threaten them, we'll have you sent back. We know someone who knows your family. You can't do this. You sign you don't sign, or it's like a handshake agreement deal. And sometimes, you take their passports or whatever, you do shady things because it's all off the books. This is, that, and then Chinese money launderers buying apartments. This is all inflating the real estate thing. So GDP is going up. And as you bring in more and more, immigrants and student visas, or, whether they're
not students, Smita.
Yeah.
That's the thing we need to understand.
Yeah,
What was happening in Brampton were diploma mills. I have
Yes.
physically seen it with my eyes. He has come with me. These are just how we have arcades in India, right? 3 shops. These what do you have, students there in 3 shops?
Yeah.
This was a money laundering racket. This was see what Canada has allowed.
Money laundering and human trafficking.
Human trafficking.
Together.
And
Canada has officially sanctioned the largest human trafficking scandal of modern political history, and nobody is questioning. It's because they did it with a smile on their face, and because once again, this is the modern day version of the Air India bombing, where brown people died, nobody cared. Brown people are being trafficked. Brown girls are being sexually molested. Nobody cares. And that's my problem with this entire thing. Okay,
Because there are no white people really involved in
no,
it.
and you know, now you flip it around.
But except for the top.
2022, and I'll give you the clip and play the clip of Randeep Sarai passing the motion M44. And that gets voted 324 to 0. The Conservatives under Erin O'Toole also voted.
Did what? What did that do?
That converted temporary foreign workers, students, into allowing them to work 40 hours a week. You can't allow students to work 40 hours a week.
How are they students then?
Yeah, they're not students then. Then when do they study? And you create pathways for permanent residency for them. Everybody voted for that. I repeat, even the Conservative Party, not under Pierre Poilievre, under Erin O'Toole, voted for it. Today, a few days ago, I see the same Randeep Sarai in a CBC coverage footage saying, listen, we need to do something about the Liberal Party nomination races. You know, we cannot allow foreign students to come and vote. These were the same people who were using the foreign students. Smith, I've seen it with my own eyes. There's a nomination race. Pizza, $150 to $250 cash. Put them in a bus or a car. Take them to the nomination voting area. I mean, I don't need to tell you how you register for the Liberal Party nomination.
You can watch the Sham Sharma
Watch
show.
Sharma
I won't say some of the names that we signed people up on your podcast.
Yeah,
No, just anybody.
Yeah, anybody,
no
right?
cross checks.
So imagine you
Indian
go there and you
IPs.
vote.
Phone numbers.
Your phone number. Yeah, find a Canadian number, get an email address, look up a random Canadian address, give a name.
Yeah.
You're a Liberal Party member.
You gave your college number or something like that.
You get Mike. I just like
We gave the office address of the World Sikh Organization,
Yeah, I
and the
think we
birth
did.
date we chose was Janelle Singh Pindrawale.
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah. So
And it accepted it.
no,
Yes.
that's a problem, and then we lit a fire under their ass, and now they're doing something about it.
Then there was a whole wave of people doing that online.
Yeah.
People then saw the game, and then people were signing up their pets. People were signing up under crazy names, and people were people were just going and and it became a social media trend on
Yeah.
Twitter for
But Justin Trudeau, in the Hogue Commission report, there is a clip of him being asked that why are you guys not because
But now, look, those students who went out there, sorry to interrupt, those students who went
they'll
out
have to come back after they're
Yeah,
done.
that's what I want to ask you. They got their PRs, right?
No, they didn't. They are stuck. See, this was a Ponzi scheme, and like every Ponzi scheme, the tail end of the Ponzi scheme, the ones who go in the tail end, they lose their money
So
the
those
most.
who went in around 2020 or
Exactly, they're all
2018.
done. They are all
Yeah.
done. They will come back, or they will go completely underground and illegal. Through your podcast.
So this is where it becomes dangerous because, okay, you're one of those hypothetical 13 kids I put in a basement in Mississauga in my imagination. You're a young man. What do you want? A young woman. You're a young woman. You're
Marriage
not going
of convenience.
Well, no. Well, you don't You don't want a boyfriend who lives in a basement with 13 other guys. You want men need something to attract women in some way, right? Not that all women are shallow, but in general, you need to no one's gonna date me if I'm living on the street. Okay. You want an apartment by yourself? You want to get in this? Right now, the Khalistanis or the Muslim Brotherhood or the CCP or other mob factors then prey on those vulnerable young men. Hey, you want a way out? You want to get out of that basement thing? And again, you do feel bad for the guys who get scammed. Listen, I think they knew what they were doing. They were trying to get in on it, and they were told they were told by the government, this isn't a permanent residency. They were told by immigration consultants, we can get you in, don't worry. There's a loopholes around this. But you have these kids who are in vulnerable positions, then it's okay, how do you get out of that? Come into this world, right? So now you have the trucking drug mules and this and that, gangster culture, blah blah blah. You can put some gold on your stuff, show that you have a thing, rent a fancy car, and then hey, there's some status. So that's dangerous for Canada because now we have a system that is trafficking and getting people into crime, right? With again, all of our problems in the last 10 years are 100% self-inflicted. And part of it was, classic woke chasing woke utopia for feel-good reasons. But some of it was also hardened criminals or mobsters and corrupt politicians who were connected to evil factions, scamming the system and taking advantage of
From a
local
numbers
lunatics.
perspective, the Canadian capacity, as far as housing is concerned, yearly is not more than 250,000. That's it. And they were letting in 500,000 people. every year.
No capacity.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen with the Khalistan movement? Let's get to that. I read one place where you said Trudeau was waiting for that. Jagmeet's
Pension.
Pension.
Yeah.
It's because of that. Really?
Yeah,
Would
24th.
that be?
Look, it's done. But I think
Is that
they
a
changed the
factor
rule,
at
right,
all?
for the two
There's
two
other,
term.
there's other like two-term, right? There's two-term, and like there's a bunch of MPs, Jagmeet among them. I mean, Canadian politics is very heavily controlled by the leaders of the party. Okay, so Jagmeet's wants and whims can really much whip the NDP, and Trudeau can kind of control the Liberals. And they got into this Faustian bargain in this pseudo coalition, which was the death of their parties long term, but serve their leadership interests short term. There are a bunch of MPs who want that pension. So, well, it might not be Jagmeet, but there are a bunch of MPs who sort of want to run out the clock until at least March or February. Then, okay, I'm set for life on my
Do you think he would
government
do
pension.
that? I
Yes.
mean, just for the sake of a pension?
It's a lot of money, $2.3 million in total.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now tell me about the Khalistan movement. Does it get affected at all with Trudeau's exit?
I think
Yes,
it will.
yes.
I think
Yeah?
it will.
Okay, so the Liberals had so many people, and a lot of the hardcore Khalistanis, one is mayor of a city in Edmonton. You know who you are. He's out. One is now back at the banks. I think I counted 50 million reasons why he ran away from politics, but we'll leave that out. And then there was Raj Gurwal's scandal where he lost $6 million gambling, and then found it again. The community came and bailed him out.
No, but he won the case, right?
Well, that's because it was a thing. You all admit he lost $6 million gambling.
By the way,
he just
you know who Raj Grewal is? So
No.
let me give you
Huh.
I think
Do you remember
one of his family members, I think his mother's side, is the one who attacked Balraj Dale. That's Raj Grewal.
Okay.
yeah,
So he went as what? Asylum seeker.
So basically, you know the story, right? All of this starts with the 80s, in that horrific period that we had over here. A lot of these people have gone there. Their second generation has built what they have. But see, what happened under Harper this was really controlled.
Yeah.
If you remember, even a good chunk of the Justice John Major inquiry happened in that period where things could have been done. I mean, the Canadian government tried its level best to sabotage everything if it was not for that one honest judge who said, no, I want the entire documentation.
Yeah.
Everything. Give it to me. I will go through it all. And the truth came out. But what Justin Trudeau has done, and a lot of people think that Justin Trudeau gave Khalistanis a free run even more because of Jagmeet Singh's pressure. But I ask this question to everyone. Look at what Justin Trudeau was doing with the Khalistanis when he had the single government, like on his own. Yeah. He was doing the same things. They just became even more brazen when Jagmeet came in.
Because of the balance of power. So in order for the Liberals to maintain power under Justin Trudeau, because they're in a coalition, they needed the NDP or the Bloc, but the Bloc is another. Those are like French natural. You can't control the French. And I think at least Justin Trudeau understands that the French are very French, and they're spiteful, and they'll reverse psychology themselves, and then it's a whole thing. Much easier to deal with Jagmeet Singh. So right now you have this scenario where the Khalistanis do control the balance of power, because Jagmeet's a Khalistani, and the leader has a lot of power. And Trudeau doesn't. I don't even think he really knows what Khalistan is, because he doesn't know.
I don't agree. I think he knows very well.
He couldn't have not known.
So, but he knows.
He's been dealing with them for so long.
I mean, he gets intelligence briefings. I refuse to know that he doesn't know.
But
he's encouraged it.
He's encouraged. Okay, so this comes, and I think the best explanation of this comes from my colleague Wyatt Claypool from the National Telegraph. He gave a pretty good breakdown, like how, and I think this sums up like Trudeau's mentality on a lot of things. When you look at like the woke of Justin Trudeau, or a good liberal, when there is a normal Sikh person, right, who's just, they're brown and they're wearing a turban, and he goes, I love Canada, I have a shop, come to,
Brampton.
Munder Singh's auto repair shop in Brampton, the #1 auto repair shop in Canada, and, he's employing a couple of people, and he does whatever, and his wife is a nice lady and whatever. Anyone can embrace this guy. I can embrace him, you can embrace him, anyone can say, oh yeah, that's a good guy. Nothing in that. But when they're crazy, right, when you have some Muslim Brotherhood guy yelling "kill, kill, kill" or a Khalistani waving a sword, and then when people go, "Whoa, that's too much." A real kind-hearted person, like the real empathy, the real show of man is how much can I tolerate? So the worse the behavior that you can tolerate, the more social status you gain because you are more enlightened. And this is Trudeau's mentality. If you look at his things, like, this is a man, why are you bringing ISIS fighters to Canada? Literal ISIS. A Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. Look at me, I can tolerate ISIS. Actual Justin Trudeau quote on why are you bringing ISIS fighters back. They can be a powerful voice for de-radicalization. Oh, brilliant. So we're going to have terrorists in our country and we're going to de-radicalize them with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
And you can come in and be who you are.
Yes.
That's what he said,
not,
right?
Smita, I think it's sheer arrogance. Justin
White
Trudeau,
man's burden, is that
no,
it?
No, it's not. I think Justin Trudeau is a unique combination of narcissism and stupidity in a box together. It's a very weird combination. He has a very inflated opinion about
He's also the son of a prime minister and from a family of wealth, oil wealth, right? So he's come from wealth and prestige and a name. So he's grown up as...
Entitled.
Like, listen, there's a problem. I call it Planet Hot Girl, okay? Not many people are meant to live on Planet Hot Girl. And some women should only live there for a couple of years before you turn insane. But when men live in Planet Hot Girl, like where like people, yes, when you just go and like people give you stuff and you're just roaming around, like it's not good for your mentality. It's not good. Like, people need to live in the real world.
His hot girl has got nothing to do with what Elon Musk called him.
Yeah,
He's a girl.
But he spent his life. He grew up on Planet Hot Girl, son of a prime minister of wealth, had a name, was able to be a snowboard instructor to prime minister, and like just a general buffoon. And everyone would be like, "Yeah, Justin used to get close to his dad." And I don't think he's as like I do think he's like in the most dangerous level of intelligence, which is just slightly above average.
Well, he was asked on that same CNN interview that why did you find it necessary to come for the Carter funeral? He should have been like, Canada is a neighbor, I'm the prime minister, so I would come. No, first he was like, that's because Carter came for my father's funeral and he was a family friend and he played a great role in my life and I was an admirer. It was all about
him,
the family connection and him. And then he says...
That's a narcissist. That's a classic narcissist. This guy has destroyed
Canada,
a country.
Yeah.
He has literally destroyed that country. He has destroyed that country to the point Canada was the most immigrant-friendly country you will come across in the entire Western sphere of the body politic of the West. And they had a very functioning immigration system where they would take good people and they would
integrate them.
Integrate them in like 1 or 2 generations or something of that sort. From there to create a scenario where there's no one who wants to be part of the immigration.
Wait, you were doing foreign interference, and I'm here on behalf of Trudeau and the Canadian government to stop foreign interference. So you are fake news.
Fake news.
All right. I've read the report. The government says you did this.
I did this.
You did this. ANI did this. What you...
Oh, yeah.
Watch Canadian High Commissioner to India, Kevin McKay, leaves from the MEA headquarters at South Block, New Delhi. Yeah. You tweeted that. Why? Answer me.
What is wrong with this picture? I can't understand. It's Indian Foreign Ministry and it's the Canadian ambassador, High Commissioner coming to...
It's fake news.
Fake news.
It's foreign interference. Why would you do this to my country? Answer. No, answer. Answer us. Okay? We want answers. Okay? Answer Jagmeet. Answer Jagmeet. The power of Jagmeet compels you. The power of Jagmeet compels you. Where's Modi? Where is Modi? Where's Modi? Where's Modi? I know he's here. Jay Shankar, where is he?
Hiding here somewhere.
Behind Amit Shah? Where's Amit Shah? Where is he? Modi! The power of Jagmeet compels you. Show yourself. Stop the foreign interference. If you think you can just tweet where people are in physical time and space, you can't. Not on my watch. Okay?
And he's a bot listening in.
He's a bot. Yes, you made this robot to infiltrate Canada, but not on my watch. Me and Jagmeet Singh, we will stop you.
Okay.
All right, so we just saved Canada. All right, moving on.
Poor Canada.
Such Canadian patriots.
Yeah,
here.
in this little studio needs to be saved. This massive country.
Yeah.
So much of real estate.
You have to understand
Too
that
bizarre.
those reports, right? Those are written by Khalistanis. You see, the moment they use the word Godi media,
No, how?
that was a
Yeah,
giveaway.
it was a giveaway.
Oh,
It was a giveaway.
This whole thing, everything they've written is just. I said it for me. Again, another thing I was proven right on is like this is just the reports from our intelligence on India is just a fever dream from Panoon. It's just a Panoon fever dream, or Boz News, just like they had a divination like Godi media, where's Modi? Like it's basically who killed Niger, Indian government. That's our foreign policy, because no one understands anything in the Canadian foreign policy ethos, like especially in this current liberal thing.
So let's get back to Khalistan. Tell me your bit. Why do you think that it's going to get
It's
impacted?
not going to go away.
Because Pierre Poilievre would also need
Yeah,
it, right?
they have Khalistanis inside. But the thing
Yeah.
is, right now,
But I will say, the Conservatives have a faction that is anti-Khalistan and anti-extremist.
Huh.
And no one understands Khalistan. There's 5 white people who understand Khalistan. I'm like one of them. And it was like 2 years ago, I was like one of 2. Now I'm like one of 5. But people are talking about it. There is a faction in the Conservative Party that you can leverage against the Khalistanis inside there. And it's smaller. The Khalistanis are very good at playing politics. The Conservatives are natural cowards as well. But they don't have the full infiltration of the Conservative Party. And especially under Poilievre, they've sort of tried to excise the Muslim Brotherhood element. And the Khalistanis without the Muslim Brotherhood and without the CCP are nowhere near as strong, because they need those two to really prop them up. And again, the CCP and the Muslim Brotherhood have fully infiltrated the Liberal Party, so getting the Khalistanis in is easier. So will all the Khalistanis go away? No, they know how to infiltrate, but their abilities will be severely undermined. And in a supermajority, which the Conservatives will likely have, if there's 3 guys with Khalistani sympathies,
They don't matter.
They did the thing. Right now, in this current government, the Khalistanis hold the balance of power. The Khalistanis can break this government if they want to. So they have to be appeased.
So tell me, Kushal, what do you think that, first, like what Daniel was saying, was that very few understand Khalistan, as, Canadians may not understand the whole Khalistan issue, all that, it's difficult. Do they understand that there's a difference between Sikhs and Khalistanis?
yeah.
They do
I
get
think
that?
they understand.
Or that
Turban
everybody
people-
wearing a turban is Khalistani?
No, I don't think so. That's
No?
the case. I think they have now started to understand that yellow flag, turban people yelling with swords, doing weird things. They see everybody.
Not everybody in India understands that. I mean, you go to South India, they won't know the difference that this guy is a Khalistani
no,
or
but
a Sikh
I think
or
they
a
have
what.
because Khalistanis go and do their marches in certain spots. That is point number 1. And they're so brazen that they make sure they're Khalistani. Right? They have Indira Gandhi effigies. They have symbols talking about kill Modi.
But that would just be in a gurdwara or in a
No,
restaurant.
they do
or-
it in
No,
roads.
it's-
They do it outside the Indian consulate. They do it everywhere.
Again, they've kind of merged with the communists and the Muslim Brotherhood, and it's
But
about
they're
dominance.
doing it. That's what you're trying
Yeah,
to
but,
say. When they need to do an action for you to know
See,
that
what
they're
has happened is,
Khalistanis.
in my view, the anti-immigration sentiment has led to everybody paying attention to everything that brown people do.
Exactly.
And what happens is the rest of the brown folks, right? They are just living normal lives,
Yeah.
going to an office, running a shop, running a restaurant,
Yeah.
running, driving a truck or something of that sort. And there are this bunch of people with yellow flags going around yelling and screaming and just annoying
ripping
people.
up the Indian flag and annoying people. Yeah, so he's right. It's a lot of it is with the mass migration and just flooding the country with.
But I want to make a
low-skill-
point about the Conservative Party over here. Let's be very clear. Conservative Party in its current avatar, Pierre Poilievre is not Prime Minister Harper. Let's just put that on record. It doesn't mean I dislike him or anything, but he's not Harper.
Exactly.
Harper had a very clear vision of what extremism is, how we deal with extremism. Harper, during his reign, never went to any extremist place, whether it was a Gurdwara, whether it was a mosque, or if
You would
any
notice
other.
on any he would if Harper was going to embrace on Eid Iftar, he would go to like an Ismaili or an Ahmadi. He would go to
Never go to any other
because
place.
he would go to it was very clever what Harper did, because to the Canadians, they say, oh, he's with Muslims. That's nice. We don't like Islamophobia. And to the real, like, geopolitical nerds, we go, oh, I know what he's doing. Because the Muslim Brotherhood would start screaming, those aren't real Muslims. Those
Pierre
are
has broken that line.
So, right?
Pierre has broken that line. Pierre has gone on Khalistani rallies. He's shared the stage with open Khalistanis, and that's where Pierre has made a mistake.
Why? Does he need
Because
the Sikh vote, or does he need the Khalistani
because the liberals went
It's
full
Canadian
mental.
politics, and they don't understand. So he's just liberals go full mental, and
And
you
then
know
the conservatives tend to copy liberals.
and like okay, so the conservative Pierre has two deputy leaders of his party. Okay, there's two deputy leaders. One is Melissa Lantsman, and she is a lesbian Jewish woman. The other one is Tim Uppal, and he is a Sikh who wears a turban. Why are they the deputy leaders? Are they the two most qualified people? Probably not. Melissa's new to politics. Tim Uppal's been there. They're there because they stand behind Pierre Poilievre. So when the media and the liberals say, you're racist, he goes, I have a lesbian Jewish woman, and I have a Sikh guy standing right behind me.
So diversity is there.
It's the diversity. It's DI.
Because they're playing the field and the rules of the game that are set by liberals.
So how are Canadians not different or
Canada is a very left-wing society.
Exactly like Europeans.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Exactly like UK.
I think Canadians are Europeans in denial.
No, Canadians are not Europeans.
They're
but we're
Europeans who like ice hockey. What's the difference?
No. It's you have it inverted. The modern Canada, the whole thing in the Discord is Trudeau's and racist, and Canadians have been tried in the new Canadian mentality of wanting to like be like Europeans, be part of this global world, right? Post-national, the EU and Canada, be part of this grand European bureaucracy, and that's what's causing the discord in Canada, in my view, is we're fundamentally not Europeans. We're frontier people. We're not Americans. We're not Europeans. We're like the intermediary between the two, and we're unique, different people.
My cousin once said Canadians are confused Americans.
So now let me again ask you, what happens to the Khalistan
I think
movement?
Khalistani movement, the biggest setback to the Khalistani movement was Orange Man getting elected in the neighborhood. It's Trump. Orange Man has his own way, and the biggest immigration, human trafficking was aided and abetted. You cannot have human trafficking, cross-border human trafficking, until you control the logistics. Who controls the logistics? Who controls the drug trade? Those two trades and the Khalistani imprints on these two industries are very deep-rooted. So if you want to stop that, and Trump wants that, right? If Trump wants that, all of this is good. Just today, I read a news in Ottawa where 4 people were arrested for aiding and abetting cross-border just taking people across the border. And they were not Khalistanis, there were other names involved in this report that I'm talking about. But until and unless, I don't think the conservatives can fix anything. I have lost faith in the idea of a Canadian government fixing anything. But I do have faith in the idea that America will fix Canada. Sorry.
America will fix Canada.
Trump,
because that sounds ominous.
Like, listen, I support, like, Trump wants to put 25% tariffs. What are these things? Illegal immigration, uncontrolled immigration, and fentanyl coming in from that. I want that stopped too, because I'm a Canadian. I don't want 25% tariffs, but listen, to save the country...
but the Canadian state apparatus is not capable to solve that until and unless there is a gun on the table put by the Americans, because 60% to 70% of trade of Canada is with the United States of America.
They need a push. And if Trump actually does say, no more... If the Canadians actually say, okay, we have to crack down on cross-border illegal immigration and fentanyl and drug trafficking, or else we're going to be screwed, well, that's going to do a huge part to undermine the Khalistani movement. Also, the CCP and other
don't do anything
bad things, right?
The day Trump has won the election and he was declared the president-elect, and look at the news segments of fentanyl drug busts, border drug busts, border illegal trafficking controlled, new rules of immigration and tighter rules of immigration, all done in Canada. It cannot be a coincidence. The amount of increase in controlling the border, controlling the drugs, controlling everything has just skyrocketed. Look at the amount of videos that Gurpatwan Singh Pannu used to produce before Trump became the president to after Trump became the president-elect. These are not coincidences. You can do a statistical analysis of all these things. It's because of America, whether we like it or not. And if the Democrats would have been in power, this would have gone on steroids, because Kamala Harris would have aided and abetted Canada even more. So let's not kid ourselves. If the Conservatives would have come to power and Kamala Harris was the president, none of this would have changed.
None of it.
So I refuse to believe that. But this is why Conservatives are better for Canada.
So will Conservatives play ball with Trump?
Yeah, because the Conservatives
They
have wanted
have to.
They will, because the Conservatives want this, but they need to be pushed into it. Like, it's weird people. Like, the Conservatives are...
No government likes to be told that we have to play ball.
Okay, but...
What are they going to do?
No. Okay, so it's not that told. Like,
Shut off the power.
So,
right to New York.
Yeah, come on, Smita. 70%
You saw that,
of
right?
the damn economy is America.
You have to understand the Canadian Conservatives. They want to shut down illegal immigration. They want to shut down fentanyl. They want to be conservative. They're just so scared. It's like the British grooming gang thing. Everyone knows it's open secrets, but they don't want to be called racist. They're too scared. They want someone to push them into action so they could do it. Because at the end of the day, they want
Trump
to be
is
the heroes.
Perfect excuse, Smita.
Right? They want to be the heroes.
He's
they
right.
want
He's
to do
actually
it, but
right.
they know they're too scared to do it. So they're kind of like looking for someone else around to do it. Like,
They need Orange Man. They need the optics of Orange Man putting a gun on the table and then they go hammer.
yeah, and then they'll go and then be forced to do it, and they'll be allowed to because they have to, right? It's either 25% tariffs and it all falls apart, or we do nothing. Because, right, this sort of kicking the can down the road mentality, very Western.
Okay. So Trudeau says that Trump's repeated remarks to annex Canada into United States is a distraction from the consequences of the 25% tariff threat. Trump said that tariffs will remain in effect until such a time that drugs, in particular fentanyl and other illegal aliens, stop this invasion of our country. Right?
What are they going to turn the lights
Yeah.
off America?
Yeah.
It's like, go sit in cold weather. Like,
We've
what are
destroyed
they
our own.
gonna do?
We destroyed our own energy.
Okay, Smita, let's understand Canada.
Okay,
90% of Canada lives by an American border.
Yeah. So, but the number one priority of the
Yeah,
Conservatives.
he said that 25% tariff on Canadian products would ultimately hurt American consumers and business because the products will become more expensive.
they would listen.
Yeah.
Canada and the U.S. have billions of dollars of trade going through. It's a very important relationship economically and culturally. I would love to stop the illegal immigration for both sides. The fentanyl is bad. We have a minister, Yara Sachs. Her job is to just give opium to children for free. That's literally what Canada does, is just hand out opium, especially in BC. In BC, which is like our California on the West Coast, woke lunatic, like far left lunatics.
British Columbia.
Okay. It's
यहाँ पे जो देख रहे होंगे वो सोच रहे होंगे कि what is he saying? BC.
British Columbia. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
He
so-
didn't get it. White man did not get our joke.
I'm surprised he didn't get it. He's with you all day
No,
long.
I have not taught him any Indian swear words.
I mean, the only
He's very pure and pious.
Yeah, the only Hindi,
Jewish, pure and pious.
Yes, yeah. I can parrot some like other languages. So far, all I got for Hindi is I can just Jai Ho, people.
Okay. Right.
that-
So when we were talking about tariffs and Trudeau, now what's going to happen with once the swearing in is over this month, when all that is done?
28th January. Yeah.
Does Trudeau turn a new leaf, knowing that this guy
what is he
going
to do? Tell me. What can he objectively do?
if Trudeau was a Canadian patriot, if there was a bone in his body that loved our country, he would have just called an election. He would have said, okay, it's time to have an election.
That's the fair
we
thing
can't
to
have
do.
a minority government face this. We need to face up to just Donald Trump. I believe I'm the best man to do it. Vote for me. I will lead you, blah, 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 blah. Boom, he gets wiped
But
out.
is he over? Yeah, that's what I want to see. Is he actually completely over?
He is. He is so
Like-
done. Oh my God. He
He's
gets heckled everywhere. He went on I don't endorse him being heckled the
When
way he
he's
was.
jogging and
on
shopping
his
and
winter
everything,
vacation. That was not
yeah.
cool. But the point is, Smita, you have to live there. Like I said this last time on the
Last time,
podcast
yes,
too.
yes.
Like when you go there, right, you just have to, like GTA was his bastion, right? Greater Toronto area. They hate him there. Like you don't even have to
Liberal
go for
strongholds are falling. Liberal strongholds that they usually win by 20 points are falling and crumbling. He's every,
Did you see something like what happened in America replicating in Canada? Complete change of
If
map.
the Liberals win 20 seats, I think they should celebrate.
Smith. Okay. If they win 20 seats, there'll be a giant party in Epstein Island. Carney Island, sorry.
What island?
Epstein Island?
Mark Carney Island. Whatever island Mark
I was
Carney's
like,
on.
I thought he said it and I heard it wrong.
like whatever elite island they have. They get 20 seats. They'll be there. The number one party, it's going to be the Blue Conservatives. They're going to win a supermajority. Projections say the number two party, the official opposition, will be the Quebec Separatist Party, who only run candidates inside Quebec. So the Quebecers will so opposite they never vote Conservative.
How many people are there? Like, I'm sure Lajpat Nagar has more humans than Quebec.
Quebec's the second largest. Ontario's got a third of
I'm
our
not
population.
talking geographically, the number of people.
No, like,
voters.
Quebec has a huge balance of power, and Quebec, because the French they get extra power and extra seats and extra influence because they're French.
Okay.
And if you don't give them things, they'll just like start throwing a temper tantrum, and no one has had like the gumption to be like, shut up.
A wicked part of me says that they need to have a secession movement other than the Khalistani secessionist movement.
But they had that, right?
It's everything. And like, I mean,
what you need to do is you need to do a referendum whether rest of Canada wants Quebec to be a part of Canada, not whether Quebec wants to be a part of Canada.
So have the referendum in India if you can't have it. Just like
no.
the Khalistanis do a
I won't be
referendum
surprised if the rest of Canada was asked whether Quebec should be a part of Canada, and Canada goes, no, you go.
Yeah, and like it's at City Hall. Like, why can't there be Delhi City Hall having a referendum for Canadian?
Yeah, because the Indian Constitution does allow for a referendum, but not for Indian causes. Maybe for a foreign cause.
We should have a referendum.
A referendum.
Like,
Quebec needs freedom.
Quebec,
Azadi.
Yeah, Azadi for Quebec. See that again.
This is now. Oh God, they're going to say foreign interference.
Now Baz News will write an article. Daniel Bordman. Indian agent Daniel Bordman went on Indian agent Smita Prakash's ANI podcast with Indian agent Kushal Mehra, and they were planning and scheming.
Secessionist movement of Canada. Let's put some dangerous music on the back. And then fire coming out. I'm going to ask you about this now, whether, Indian students now, is that Canadian dream over? Should Indian students be...
Run.
Oh, okay.
Run away. You're getting trafficked. Listen, there are real schools in Canada. If you are a brilliant biochemist and, your young son or daughter can get into
University of Toronto, Western,
McGill, whatever, like...
Say York, say it. It's my university.
He hates my university. Right. If you could get into the Islamic Republic of York, then
he hates it. That's why I wanted him to say it. He was so disappointed.
Certainly, yes.
He was so disappointed when I told him when I went to York. He was like, "I judge you."
The York is the Gaza Strip, except crazier. But most of it is like, again, fake universities, fake diploma mills. Like, there's a huge human. Like, it's dangerous for India.
Come back to India.
It's so dangerous. Like, India's. If you're smart, you get into like maybe you're the most brilliant biochemist again in the world, and you could go to Harvard or Cambridge or whatever, and that's a real school. A lot of the schools are fake diploma mill, human trafficking thing. If you think you can get a good deal, if you're getting a good deal in Canadian education, the old adage, right? If it's too good to be true, it probably isn't, right? And then the rent you're gonna have to pay, and then the exploitation costs. Like, there's a lot of hidden costs there.
Come back to
Run.
India.
Don't go to Canada. Don't go until this is figured out. Like, maybe Trump's America. And again, if you're just the absolute brilliant whatever, and you can get into the top program like Cambridge, Oxford, one of those like real institutions where it's like, brick and mortar Ivy League schools with professors.
Like if you have an admission in University of Waterloo, or these are universities, right?
Southwest Tech Institute of Northern Technology.
These people are diploma mills were immigration mills.
Yeah,
they were not meant to educate you. Listen, when I used to study in 2001 and 2, there was just Ryerson, Humber, and one or two, and they were real vocational colleges. Like, you could learn how to weld or stuff like that. When you have 80 of them, it's a scam. And one heartening news that I found out in Punjab is that admissions, usually what used to happen is, let's say we have 100 seats in Punjab and barely anybody in Punjab would want to go and study. This is one of the rare years, I think, and this is the Canada effect. We've actually had 100 seats available and 150 people applying for those seats. So we are changing. Look, go around, you see immigration offices all over Delhi and Mumbai, the Canadian flag is off. You remember... if you drive around... ILTS and Canada flag. Now they don't have ILTS and Canada flag. They have other countries. So now look at how Taiwan is so sharp. See, they are observing what's happening. So this entire H-1B tamasha happened in America. Immediately, the Taiwanese government handled... What did they say? We want your engineers. And they know that India is churning out the highest number of engineers in the world, and a lot of them are brilliant. So Taiwan wants them. If you have a real college, then you go. The moment these diploma mills, I would see a lot of these students.
Even the real colleges, if you've got admission, say from you get the letter of acceptance from an Australian or from a college in
But the
the
Aussies
UK,
have plugged it.
and
They
you've
have
got
plugged the loopholes. Look at how Aussies have plugged it, Smita.
no. What I mean is, if you've got acceptance letters from Australia, England, Germany, and Canada. Canada is
No,
in
don't
the
take
no
Canada.
bucket.
No, don't
Even
take
if
it.
it's from a brick and mortar,
But,
because
like,
you
also-
don't know.
It's like you don't know, and also like
It's too
our
expensive.
and like the Khalistanis and the extremists, like Canada's an extremism problem, and like I say this to the Indian or the Hindu community a lot. Like, you guys are like 10 years behind where the Jews are in Canada, and you're about 2 years away from getting there. It's like also
That sounds sinister.
it is. No, the left's abandoned you. They've adopted. Again, they're so stridently self-righteous, and they've adopted this sort of like Hindu caste system, blah blah blah, fighting racism. You're the white colonial oppressor. It's all nonsense. It's all re-engineered. Jim Crow wannabe stuff with a fusion of some Palestinian shenanigans in it. But you will probably face vicious discrimination from the good liberal whites in your class because the Jewish students get it now of just like being attacked for being
Now?
Jew Zionists. Yeah.
Oh, you should see.
Since October 7th, the explosion of anti-Semitism in Canada is off the, this is one of the things
Look
I do
at
in
the hate
Canada.
crime reported by Stats Canada. If in 3 years it has gone from 250 to 990 reported cases.
There was like a 670% increase, I think, in
Yeah,
anti-Semitic,
anti-Semitic hate
attacks
crimes.
over this. And the police have kind of realized there's nothing they do, and they just shrug their
Is it specific neighborhoods or is it?
Yeah, Jewish
is it
neighborhoods,
every-
like just
they've learned they come to your neighborhoods now. This is a dominance thing. So the jihadis, they will now come into the hearts of the Jewish neighborhood to it's a dominance.
What
thing.
was
They're
that one
jihadis.
school that was attacked 3 times or
There's
2
a Jewish
times?
there's a Jewish girls' school in Toronto. I'm blanking the name. It's been shot at 3 times. We're an anti-gun country. No guns allowed. Justin Trudeau, I will never have guns. People have driven by this school in the middle of the night, whatever, and
Randomly shot.
just well, not randomly, just just shooting at it outside and then driving away. Jewish girls' school, and Justin Trudeau, who hates gun violence and racism, usually takes about 24 to 48 hours. He deliberately drags his feet on condemning it. Sometimes when there's anti-Semitic attacks that he has to comment on, it's a 48 hours till he comments and he says the anti-Semitism and Islamophobia must be right. Right, that's the thing. When it's a Jewish day school being shot at, that time it's like, okay, it's a 24-hour thing, and those times he doesn't say Islamophobia because it's little girls being shot at. It's too much to sort of kick the Jewish community again there. But it's, oh my God, hate has no place here. We're on it. You're on.
I don't understand. It's hate has no place here, and then you have the floats with Indira Gandhi being
So I'll
shot
explain
and things.
why he's
How
right.
does that happen?
So I'll explain why he's right about what's happened to the Jews is going to happen to the Indian community and the Hindu community in the Western world. So when the Hindu Sabha Mandir got attacked
in Canada.
in Canada, for the whole week or 10-day period, I'll tell you the name off the record because I don't want her or him to get in trouble because I verified this source from 4 or 5 people inside the CBC. The story would go to the editor that, listen, we should mention this temple has been attacked in CBC. They would kill it every time. 4 attempts were made. All 4 times.
And the only way they
story
covered it was as clashes outside of him. It
yes.
wasn't. It wasn't
So they
Khalistanis
waited
attack temple. It's
for a
clashes
spin.
outside Hindu temple. Clashes outside Hindu temple. So it sounds like the Hindus are being crazy.
So it is not good, and until and unless the Indian community realizes their mistakes, see, just going to a country and immigrating inside that society, becoming like Indians, you'll see Indians at hockey games. They have become very Canadian. They love hockey and all of that.
You see him in baseball, you get Raptor game.
You'll see.
Yeah.
In fact, now we have an Indian baseball player, Indian origin kid who's a very decent baseball player, batter in the Major League Baseball also. And these kids are coming up and they are merging into the society. But all these kids either turn out to be Riddhi Patel. You remember the famous case of Riddhi Patel? Or they just get into tech and they ignore the reality around them. I was so happy that the loony MAGA right attacked the tech.
No, when you say ignore, it means just, I don't want to be part of this.
Yes, it's all beneath me.
Yeah.
I am so happy that the attack on the tech Hindus, and because it's not tech Indians, it's the tech Hindus. Okay? Hindus dominate tech. You may not like reality. Reality doesn't change. The Hindus dominated tech. They attacked them because suddenly so many of them have come up. I think that was the best thing that could have happened to our community because it literally shook our community up in the United States of America. For the first time, friends of mine who never talk about it, they started messaging me, texting me, emailing me. It's like, yo, how am I supposed to react to this in my company? I'm like, ab tujhe pata chala.
Yeah. Till then it was like...
They used to mock me. They used to mock me for raising the voice. And I'm like, now you know... And now, and listen.
And we have Jews like this. There's a lot of Jews, center left, who you get in, you can go into a nice neighborhood and you can ignore the realities and like continue.
It's usually the wealthy.
Yeah, it's the wealthy.
And listen,
it's the wealthy.
And it's the people of the privilege to ignore the consequences of their
and
beliefs.
I think the two communities understand each other's pain a lot because they have gone through the trauma of losing their near and dear ones. They have gone through the trauma of generational pain. See, a lot of times,
and
people,
also the gaslighting from the people who claim to care about racism. When the Hindus come to them with actual issues,
why do you think the attack on Daniel and I is so severe from
Yeah.
the Canadian media circles? Because the worst nightmare for a left woke setup is a popular Jew who's smart and a popular Hindu who is articulate. If they come together, they basically lose their collective shit, which is why the hit piece came.
Oh, and if you saw, I released the clip, but like one of the things that Jonathan Monpeat of the CBC was very keen to get to the bottom to of something nefarious was why are Hindu nationalist organizations working with pro-Israel thing and this. He was like, and I'm like, and I blew him up with like, what do you mean by Hindu nationalists?
Oh, one of the questions, you know what was, what is a Jew? Like Daniel Bordman doing in the Hindu Heritage Festival. Let's not talk about... but I'm leaking a question. One of the questions that pathetic journalist asked was, what is a Jew? Specific question.
Yeah.
He's not a Hindu, he's a Jew. Why are you calling him to a Hindu festival? Who the hell are you? Seriously, I mean, to channelize my inner Sushant Sarin, THKBC. But, you know, it's very annoying. And I know what bothers them because now, see, it just happened that eventually the Jewish community outside Israel and the Hindu community, I would say, in India and outside India, just came to realize that, listen, if we don't come together, we're done. And that's why the Hindu community and the Jewish community, they just sat together. Okay, these people are attacking me. Then we sat and the Jews were like, hey, this is our flowchart. Hindus, this is our flowchart. Oh my God, our flowcharts literally coincide.
I have a
What
friend
happens
who's working.
to the Sikhs in Canada who don't
They are the biggest victims.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they don't support, some of them, most of them don't support the
Listen,
Khalistan.
The amount of messages we get from Sikh community members where they tell us, please fight for us.
Like in Toronto, if I see someone in a turban, I know there's a good chance that they would support me. Now, if I were to go to Eastern Khalistan, Brampton, or Western Khalistan, Surrey, then I'm not so sure, but I'm not from there. But generally, it's very much like, okay, you know, he gets it.
But I don't think it is that bad in Brampton, Dan. I think it's worse in Surrey.
It maybe it's worse in Surrey.
And,
We'll
and
find
the
out.
worst in Abbotsford.
We'll find out. Like, so the average Sikh...
I went, but I couldn't tell the difference because of course, I went as a tourist.
Yeah.
I mean, you
So, I
live
mean,
there.
like,
When you live there, it gets...
Yeah, I mean, so like, you know, so the Indians, yes, Hindu Indians tend to be very successful engineer and tech, and like Indian Sikhs tend to be very successful like small business owners and community leaders and all that. The ones that are like prominent business community leaders and own a thing, they're not worried about like balkanizing India for some normal reason. They came to Canada. They're quite patriotic, you know, overrepresented in military and police thing because, you know, they have a culture of you know, a bit of a warrior thing. So that manifests in a way and like, you know, very, you know, patriotic to the country.
But they do realize now that
My
things have
biggest
come
worry
to
is the
a boil.
Khalistanis have destroyed the image of the honest, hardworking Sikh in Canada. That's my biggest worry. Because the hate crimes, you know what happens is because of the pagdi.
Gang wars, yeah.
Because of the pagdi, the turban.
Yeah.
It becomes an easy target. That's my biggest worry.
Yeah.
And the Khalistanis are not getting it in their incessant hatred of India and the Hindu. Listen, the Khalistani hates the Hindu. They are destroying the average Sikh in Canada, which is going to be the biggest problem. My biggest concern.
It's almost like
Are
they're
the
a
Sikhs worried
astroturf
to
movement
go to
funded
a
by
gurdwara?
Pakistan.
No. I know so many members of the community, Smita, who have stopped going to the Gurdwara. They can't go there because it's lunatics are running the Gurdwaras in Ontario.
See, Gurdwara fights have always occurred, even in America.
वो अलग बात है ना, श्वेता?
Gurdwara wars would happen, Bhindranwale on the wall, and things like that. And you know, I've seen Sikhs who ignore it. It wouldn't bother
Yeah,
them.
but it's beyond
They just
ignoring.
ignoring after a while.
It's
The
beyond
Hindus who go to the Gurdwaras ignore that in a while because it doesn't bother. It's
Yeah,
there
but
in one corner.
what do you if you
But
have to walk
yeah,
over
on
the
a walk
flag?
on a flag? Yeah.
What if you have to walk
It's
over
getting
Modi's
more and more.
face?
But the mentality of just ignore it because it's not that bad, that makes it worse. And like this is where I'm very
You
different.
get it, right?
I
If
get-
somebody has a swastika sign, as in the Nazi swastika
Yeah.
sign,
The
do you
Haken
ignore
cross.
it? Or
Yeah.
I mean, so do you ignore that sign? Do you, you know? So the thing is that if you or you see a watermelon
Yeah.
tag right now, that's
Yeah.
the other one. If you see that, do you ignore these small things that I don't want to escalate it? Or do you talk about it? Because I know I have been to a Gurdwara with this there, and you know, for a minute I was like, should I have a langar out here? You know, I mean, should I? Sit
won't.
For a,
I
yeah,
won't.
but that was a couple of years ago. But now when it's become so bad,
It's
I don't want to.
So I mean, I'm different. I'm a crazy person. So I get along with my crazy Iranian friends, and I'm much more like them than my Jewish family. I go in this and that, and like because I go in with strength, like lead with it. Flip on a phone, hey, this, I'm here, what are you doing? Right? And like there's like when they went to go harass another one of the temples, like I know how to handle this. Like, I made a video when I did that.
The Vishnu Mandir.
The Vishnu
Yeah,
Mandir,
the one,
again, like I can give some behind the scenes and like this is how you have to survive in like alternative media. And like this is why
Do you get threats?
less than people think. A lot. Listen, do I get more death threats than your average person? Of course, right? Because I'm in.
You got death threats?
Yeah, but like it's barely any, because
No, don't. That's not barely any. Even a one threat is a threat.
But most of them are from Pakistan, and like if you can barely spell a death threat, it's whatever. Like it's and sometimes like one time like the people who do less than me and whatever get more death threats because they react to them. And they'll like put them out and blast them like, oh my God, look at me, I'm fighting back. Then it just incentivizes more. But I know how jihadis think. And these people think. They can't stand the mockery. So, or the thing of like, oh, you're in Pakistan, you're threatening to kill me, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're on the internet, like, and I know to just go out. Like, and there was a thing, like, when I was covering the Christmas jihad, one of the jihadis actually came up to me, and, like, it's on camera, like, you were threatened to me to my life, and this and that, like, oh, you're scared. You were scared for your life? I said, no. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Right? They can't, if you have to jihad their jihad.
What about you?
I don't care.
Right?
I'm very comfortable. If somebody comes up to me, I've not faced it directly in Canada.
Do the Hindu community, do people in the Hindu community know that you're agnostic or you're an atheist?
Yeah.
And
They know.
And you're flying the flag for Hindus now.
Which it confuses them a lot.
Yeah.
It confuses them a lot. They because I mean, listen, I won't lie. The kind of love that I have received from the community over there, both Hindu and Sikh. Like when we did this festival just before coming, there were turbaned and non-turbaned Sikhs in the audience, and that was like a good 15% of the entire audience. When we were done and we were wrapping up, so many kids came to me and said, Bhaiya, I'm actually a Sikh. I was like, you don't need to tell me that. He's like, no, Bhaiya, I want you to know we are behind you. So it's okay. I mean, listen, why do I do it? Well, why does any Punjabi do it? Why did KPS Gill do it?
Yeah.
Why did any Punjabi stand up to this? It's personal. I have never hidden it. It's personal. You mess with my people, I mess right back with you. Like then wo jo kehte hain na, wo, how do they say? If they are crazy, I mean, I'm the same stock, right?
Yeah.
It's just I'm crazy in a different way.
And they go for soft targets, whatever. So, and they can't stand to be humiliated by a 5'8" Jewish kid. They can't. There's ways to do it. Like, again, if you just stare them in the face and stare them down, they want you to scatter and run. When you don't, like, there was 6 of us, and I went cover this in Christmas, December 23rd last year, or 2 years ago, 2023. Right, and they were doing a big cancel Christmas. And I talked to I think like you. I know how jihadis think. If they dominate Christmas, why they always bomb and run through Christmas markets. Christmas is the fundamental to Western civilization. Okay, you can't. If they dominate Christmas, they dominate Canada.
That happened in Germany.
In Germany,
so pathetic.
You can't let them take Christmas. This is and I would die to protect Christmas in Canada. I'm perfectly comfortable. Kill me for Christmas, and I'm Jewish because it's for Canada. And you go with that energy, like they respect, but like the jihadis were surrounding us and I was covering it, and it was me, 2 former Iranian political prisoners, and 3 former Iranian, like Iranians and a nice Christian white girl. And they would be screaming at us, like faces covered in confused, "You cowards, 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 and cowards." We go, there's 6 of us, there's 1,000 of you, we're showing our face, you're all covered up, show your face, you cowards. And then that would shut them up because you out-jihad them. And you go through, and like, yeah, they attack.
Out-jihad them.
Yeah, and then, my friend Salman.
But that's what happened at that, that Sikhs versus, or rather Khalistanis versus Hindus, that fight that happened, in front of the consulate. No, in front of the Gurdwara where the forms were being signed by, it was that
So
fight
in the last
that
3
happened.
years, Smita, what has happened is the Khalistanis, you were used to protesting outside the consulate or any event where the Indian government was involved, and there would be no retaliation. What has fundamentally changed is that eventually every community reaches a tipping point. It's just that with the Jewish community, I think they reach the tipping point a little faster because they have the memory of the Holocaust, which is a little earlier than what happened to the Hindu community.
And everyone in the Jewish, there's 1 billion Hindus. So you could be part of a Hindu family that, was not part of the terror wave in Punjab or didn't have a connection to whatever mass slaughter of Hindus because you were in the south, it was in the north. 18 million Jews on planet Earth in 1939, 6 million, so a third of the community is dead in the Holocaust. I'm probably one of the least affected Jews by the Holocaust because I had 3 of my 4 grandparents were born in Canada, but I have family members from the other side. There's Holocaust victims everywhere, and friends. Everyone has exes in their family tree from the Holocaust. And everyone.
I think that is what has happened in North America in general. Now the Indian community has had enough of these Khalistanis, and what triggered the reaction in Canada is also the active aiding and abetting by the Canadian government. When the Canadian government was actively aiding and abetting them, and what do I mean by actively aiding and abetting is not even condemning it. Not just, and you cannot say kill Modi politics has no insinuation. You cannot say making videos and giving a list of airline numbers and flight patterns of Air India is not incentivizing all the wrong things. So what has happened is when you feel abandoned by the state, right, then you stand up for yourself. That's what happened. And
that tipping point.
That tipping point is that.
Because you get comfortable in the West, especially as you think the institutions, because the institutions function, right? You need to get a driver's license, you need to get whatever.
You know what used to happen in the past? You would go after a Khalistani. they start calling your entire family network. They'll call your father, mother, brother, sister. Now what has happened is because they've done it to so many people. Now everybody is like, yeah, you okay. You know what? Enough is enough. You can do what you want to do. I'm not going to back down. And now, 10 years ago, that was a different generation of Indians. The level of... You understand,
Yes,
right?
I get that, yeah.
The kids these days, you're going to push these Indian kids over?
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
I mean, you touch them, they will break your face. That's how their mentality is. You touch them, they will not hit you. But you hit them, they're going to defend themselves. So that's what has happened. And listen, the Khalistanis are fighting a losing battle. They are fighting a losing battle not in India. They're fighting a losing battle in Canada.
You know, the flag bit which you brought out. Now, I've seen every time an Indian Prime Minister would go to Canada or to the US or to Europe, there'd be a bunch of Khalistanis who would
burn
go
the
from...
flag.
And they burn the flag. And I've seen this with my own eyes that there would be nobody from the Indian side
Yeah.
shouting them down. They'd come there, about 15 of them, yell, scream, tear the flag, burn the flag, and leave. And I would always ask the Indian High Commissioner or the Indian Ambassador that why is it that the Indian community is not coming and doing anything else, right?
They didn't care.
Nobody cares. They're going to do this for the next 5 minutes and go. So if you want to take pictures, you can take pictures. But look at the local media. Nobody's covering it. So why are you bothering? That would happen. But now I'm seeing a retaliation happening. Good, bad, what? Is it good?
There's good and bad, right?
Inevitable.
That's the right word. It's inevitable. Because the history of the Indian community is they take it, and then it reaches to a point because the Indian community is the classic not in my backyard NIMBY phenomenon suffering community. And now it's reached their backyard. Which is why I always say the incident at the Hindu Sabha Mandir of Brampton, because it's not just any mandir, it is the Hindu Sabha Mandir. It has the Hanuman Murti, the biggest Hanuman Murti. It is a pillar of the community. People like my father-in-law and many other people in the 80s and the 90s, they started struggling to find land, to raise money. A lot of blood and sweat went into that temple. I've taken Daniel. It's a giant campus. Like, it's a giant real estate. It's a matter of pride for the community over there. Smita, 60% to 50% to 60% of the people who come to the Mandir Delhi are the Sikh community.
Yeah, so that, like, one thing you pointed out to me, and I see it now in India, and not that I didn't believe you, but now I can say I have observed this with my own eyes. For Indians, you have temples all over here. Temples here are fundamentally different than temples in Canada. It makes sense. Because you can have temples here, temples around just for a god to throw a prayer.
Sure.
But temples in Canada are temples and community centers.
Yeah.
Right? So they have sort of this dual function. They're big, and whereas I went into temples
They're
here,
doing pension
exactly
distribution at
exactly right. But so like the temples in Canada tend to be general, right? Big general, right? And in India you can have this one's for Shiva, this one's for Ganesh, this one's for whatever.
There everything is
right.
In one
Everything
place.
for just an eclectic bunch of a bunch of different temples because you have tons of people. They could be big, they could be small, they could be whatever, and you saw people. Khalistanis with Khalistani flags whacking people with Khalistani 2x4s on the temple ground. That was and like as a Canadian, like that was a new level of like we've had churches burning, and Justin Trudeau says so. When you think of like Justin Trudeau, it's just Hindus or
more
dirt,
than 100
right?
Churches have
we're
been
more than
burnt.
100 churches have been vandalized since Trudeau did this whole like. It's so weird. Like we wanted to believe that we had done a genocide against the Indigenous and we had found a mass grave. Turns out there were no bodies. But we had like the flag at half-mast for like 6 months until one Indigenous community, like I think it was I can't remember, might have been the Mohawks or whatever. One Indigenous community was like, put the fucking flag back up. What are you doing? Because we need to lower the flag for half-mast for like to remember the veterans of our community that fought for this country, right? So put it back up so we could put it down for a day and then put it back up. This means nothing, right? And then because everyone's what are you doing? But finally because some Indigenous community was like, stop it. Right? Then it was put back up. But you had this thing where churches get burned, but that's in the middle of the night. Synagogues get vandalized and fire burned and all this. But this was a middle of the day, on camera, attack from a group onto a religious ground, and they pretty much got away with it. They had an off-duty cop who was part of the thing. Part of it.
That I mean,
it's very disturbing.
And had it not been for social media,
everything would have been. Imagine, I take you back. The attempts to put it on the CBC were killed. And then the spin comes on the CBC. If we did not, that one brave woman who
she
pretty much took all the videos, the community should salute her. She
did an
that
excellent
alone.
he was on leave or something, right?
Oh
He
my
was
God,
out.
she was serving the members,
Yeah.
the senior citizens inside. And when she came outside, and if she was not there at that time, being brave enough, and you remember how she was yelling, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And she was going, oh my God, oh my God. And she was shooting. Like that brave woman. The community owes her so much that if she would not have exposed what happened,
I couldn't have shared the videos that she
None
made
of
good
us.
videos. She narrated. She like that's the type of thing like I try and preach to people. Like you need some physical courage and some moral courage to do it. And physical courage doesn't mean you go and fight. Physical courage means you can just stand there, hold your camera, and get it on video, and take a bit of a risk there. And because she was courageous and like held her cool and was able to get that all on video, it was able to be exposed. And like then us social media rabble rousers, fake news, bad guys, foreign interferers, I was able to foreign interference the video into public consciousness, and then
and then all Indian TV channels picked it up,
Yeah.
and it became a big thing. Indian
yeah,
media picked it up
and this is why the Justin Trudeau Canadian establishment and their relationship with the media is pure jealousy. Honestly, it's just pure jealousy. Because they know they cannot beat you in numbers. Because Canada has a very small market by itself. And even inside Canada, I think ANI might get more views than the CBC.
They get no views. Like, no one cares. The only time they get views is, like, when they do something so crazy that people share it. The only views they get is, like, rage bait at how bad they are. So, it's when they put out...
I cannot explain the amount of times I have seen... I'm not talking about random white Canadians taking out clips of Indian media, whether it's you guys, whether it's any other mainstream channel, and playing it and doing reaction videos to it.
Okay, and the reason...
They hate Indian media.
And I'll tell you a bit of Canadian psychology.
It's also, I think Canadians find it difficult to understand why there's rage against Canada. It's not rage against Canada.
No.
It's rage against...
Okay,
No,
here.
we understand. We totally understand it.
Do you get that?
No,
I mean,
Canadian piece...
Indians
Okay.
by nature like Canadians, because
I know.
like the Canadians are like
So this is, most
nice
Canadians get
people.
so where Canadians like go like sometimes Indians go like, oh, we hate Trudeau more than you do. It's like, no, you don't. Okay, there's some crazy Trudeauans, but like it's like, okay, Trudeau to India is this annoying buzzing fly that it's keeping me up at night, and then maybe it bit you and you're like, oh, itchy, and that's irritated. Ugh. Canadians, Justin Trudeau burned down your house and then put out posters in the neighborhood and blamed you for it, and is like, and then like he burned down your house, stole your car, and then put a media outlet saying, this lunatic burned his house, don't worry, I will save you, and then burn down your cottage. Like that's
triple whammy.
It's like he annoys you. To a lot of Canadians, he ruined in life is like the level of so. When they see a foreign country being mad at Trudeau, they're like, yeah. And the reason why they're so afraid of Indian media is because the Canadian psyche and a lot of things. Like, Canadians love Canadians, but we have great artists. And Canadian artistic talent is pretty high quality. But we don't really embrace Canadians until they've made it in another country, usually America, and then they become Canadian icons. Canadian media doesn't cover things until... a foreign media company.
Oh.
So they're afraid of you because when foreign media starts talking about Canadian issues, then they have to do it. So the governments, of course, because they pissed off India so much, they have to call you all Godi media, Modi spies, and like with that, like, oh, is Amit Shah behind the thing? Like, where is he? Where's Modi? Right? This whole thing, right? It has to be, and it's pure projection because they're all paid by Trudeau, right? So they have to fully discredit you and make sure the Canadians never listen to you or try, but Canadians don't trust the establishment anymore, post-COVID, all this different stuff, Trudeau, right? Because they know how the Canadians work. Once Canada becomes an international story, then Canadians pay attention, right? So they they want Indian media gone unless you're saying nice things, right? If we did this and like, Justin Trudeau is a brilliant man, isn't he the most handsome person ever? And he really increased the diversity, climate
It's like
change.
somebody
Blah, blah,
rubbing
blah.
chalk on a blackboard. You know what I
So
mean?
that's the thing, which is why, Smita,
that's-
ask yourself, they never did a dedicated report on any media group or aggregator, right? Ever. But they specifically handpicked the Indian media. And they did an entire report on the Indian media.
They didn't do it in China.
No, Indian media is not perfect. I've been very
Sure.
critical.
And China has hostile media they've taken over inside Canada that pushes like anti-Canadian rhetoric in Mandarin, in everything
But
that is
they
the
picked
Epoch
Indian
Times.
media.
They picked Indian.
Imagine now he's a journalist in Canada and an activist in Canada. He's been here. He has said whatever he wants to say.
Yeah.
Nobody has picked on him.
Yeah.
He's even gone on the roads and annoyed people saying, "Why are you honking?"
I'm going to play that video if it's okay.
Yeah,
Play
sure,
that
play.
video. It's like, and nobody stopped you, right? Nobody asked you, what
People
are you doing?
thought it was hilarious.
They just, I think their mind was like, "Who is this weird white guy
they
doing
were kind of just like looking
Okay,
at me.
Bombay versus Delhi. Play Bombay versus Delhi. What did you think? How much time have you spent in Delhi now? For 48 hours?
48 hours and same amount of time Bombay and Delhi. And it's like, it's hard to be, and we
You
go
do
back
realize
to Bombay.
I'll kill you if you side with Delhi.
Okay,
This is Bombay Delhi war.
one of the reasons I like Bombay is because you're very based and you're still calling it Bombay.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So that's point to Mumbai because it's
I was
based.
born in Bombay.
Yeah.
Till it became Mumbai, right?
Right, so I love the fact that you're like, screw you white people trying to rename it, like, colonialism. So still calling it Bombay, point there. Better air quality, point there. Delhi, optimal sleeping
Do
temperature.
not say food. Do not. Bombay is not good food.
I haven't, the food stuff is still up for grabs. I haven't figured out, there's a chaos score, but I'm not, like, we'll find out, is more chaotic a point? For or against?
More chaotic? Depends on which part of Delhi you are in, frankly. So,
Right. And
chaotic.
These
But also
elite
for me-
Delhiites, they don't go outside South Delhi and they think all of Delhi is South Delhi.
This is
So
what I'm
do not
saying.
listen. They are corrupting your mind.
Uh-huh.
Well,
So
but-
what
but-
about you? I mean, I'd like to know if
here's
you
the
haven't
I am a suburban kid. I am an innocent boy.
But here's the thing. It's like when you're trying to say like, oh, it's not that chaotic. For me, I love the chaos, right? I like middle of the street yelling at cars.
So I'll give you a story.
Cows on the street. And
Yes.
So I had taken him to a restaurant, Salt, in Karjat. It's a beautiful place. So while we are coming back, so my wife was sitting in the back and he's sitting in the front. This idiot is sleeping. See, only
He's
when you're
jet-lagged.
No,
Okay.
no.
I
He's
was-
like, he doesn't care about the driving chaos in India. And that's when, my wife, she's like, he's sleeping. I was like, oh my God, he's so comfortable in India. He's sleeping.
In spite of the honking?
all
The
my
honking
white
and the
friends.
swerving and the whatever.
This is all my white friends in India for the first 5 days.
So the chaos score is kind of like a fun score. So I'm like more chaotic might be a good thing, right? I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out which one is more chaotic and where, and is that a point for or against?
Have you met Modi? Have you met Shah as yet?
No, they're avoiding me. I'm trying to find them, right? I assume I'm going to look at India Today, CNN, maybe they're here. That's because that's where they are.
Trudeau believes that you've come here just to meet them, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure. So, I would love to meet them and take a picture and put out because then they would explode.
Oh,
Just
God.
explode. It would be proof positive. If people are wondering, I'm here. It's 100% funded by Modi at his request. He was there with me on the airplane. He gave me a piggyback ride onto the plane, and then he literally picked me up and brought me here. And then
And imagine if you were to go tonight and have a Gujarati thali meal or something like that. Oh,
That's all we have to do.
That's all you need to do is that Gujarati thali given by Modi and Shah.
This food is sponsored by Narendra
Oh,
Modi.
Narendra
yeah.
Modi.
Oh, we need a cardboard cutout of Modi. I can eat it in front of. Hi, Modi. Oh, me at a table eating that with a cardboard cutout of Amrit Shah and a cardboard cutout in the end of Modi. They
Yeah.
would lose their
And
fucking
Ajit Doval,
minds.
right? That's another person that they had on.
See, you know what has happened is they just don't understand that.
We're laughing at it, but actually, they actually had it seriously on.
Imagine-
on a foreign ministry.
See, I know why they hate you because of the platform.
Yeah.
I know why they hate Shiv.
Shiv.
I know
Yeah.
why they hate Shiv because Shiv is, and to call Shiv pro-BJP. Like, have you seen his coverage? He goes after everyone. Like Shiv is one of the rare journalists who's actually, like when we had the Pune case, right? That was a BJP state government, right? At that time.
Yeah.
The way Shiv went after the state government apparatus, I was so proud of Shiv about that fact. The way he went after the government, run by BJP. What are you guys talking about?
That's the video.
Oh, yeah. We need to play this.
Can you play it?
And what is the most important law in all of Canada? What is the worst crime one can commit? It's not murder. That's a joke. The only thing we keep people in jail for is honking. That's right. So I'm being here on behalf of Justin Trudeau and Yara Sachs to stop crime in India. As you hear, this is a far-right country. Excuse me, sir. In the name of Justin Trudeau and Yara Sachs, I demand the honking stop. Okay? No. Okay, we're overrun.
No, nobody's listening.
Far-right people, and they're honking. Okay, it's a danger to the Republic. Yara Sachs, send help. Send the RCMP. Send CSIS. Send the Canadian Army. And send as many black lesbian firefighters as you can to stop the far-right foreign interference. Please, someone save this country. Someone save Canada from the honking. I'm scared.
Okay, what is the right-wing country? Why right and why honking? Explain this.
Okay, so I'll explain this. Okay, this is from the Freedom Convoy, all right? Now, Yara Sachs is a minister in government. I call her Minister of Giving Fentanyl to Children. Mental health and addictions. Oh. So it's her job to give, literally, her ministry is like actually handing out free opium flooding the streets with free opium. It's crazy. That's her job. But she, during the Freedom Convoy, said... the honking, because you would chuck horn. It's like the thing was like people would honk at the government. We went there and annoyed them. Like we didn't burn anything down, but we honked at we went to the heart of the bureaucrats.
How Canadian.
It's Canadian. It was like peaceful. And everyone there, the Freedom Convoy was pretty like based and knew it. Like they want us, like they were leaving Parliament open and they wanted us to do an insurrection. It was like, hey, you want to come onto Parliament? And everyone's like, we're not going onto Parliament. We're not being, 100% peaceful. They were like, they wanted to have Parliament storm to shut it all down. And so they tried to say that Honk Honk is an acronym for Heil Hitler. Because they were saying Honk Honk, right? Like people would Trudeau would say blah, blah, blah. And then everyone would comment # Honk Honk. And that became like the pro-freedom and the mandate thing. So they tried to say Honk Honk is a symbol of like Heil Hitler and a racist thing and far right. So that's why I'm there. That's why that's a # Honk Honk. It's a thing. And so like,
that's why Yara Sachs.
That's why Yara Sachs, because she's a minister, and she called Honk Honk, and also the two of us have Yara and I have a little bit of history. That's a thing. So
she snatched the cell phone.
Oh, she grabbed my phone. I went to go. She actually grabbed my phone a couple of weeks ago. Right before I came to India, there's a video of me going to confront Yara Sachs. Because she's at a Jewish rally and she's pro-Palestine, but she's Jewish and whatever. So I went to go confront her at some point. I go, hey, Yara Sachs, what do you think Justin Trudeau should resign? And she full on grabs my phone. I'm like, you idiot. And then I kind of didn't chase her. She ran away. She just kept running away from me. I'm like, Minister Sachs. It's a pretty funny clip of just her being ridiculous. So that was right before I went. All right, so that's me taking shots at Yara Sachs.
This is far-right conspiracy because they're honking.
Yeah, so
poor Indians. They don't know what he's talking about. My first reaction was, is he talking about right-hand drive?
No.
Far right. And what was he talking?
I'm using Canadian rhetoric. So like this is like a thing where it's like Indian Canadians get what's going on here fully. And Canadians get like 70% and Indians kind of get 70%. Oh, is it me just running around and yelling? But this is like...
And then there were these videos that you did in Bombay too. Somebody got you Indian whiskey and...
they're just putting other things. Yeah, and I just threatening, asking Modi to deport people for trying to, foreign interfering with my foreign interference, right? So but like, I'm just using the logic of the Canadian government to its like ultimate like thing, and like everything is foreign interference by their definition because I'm in a foreign country and I'm breathing.
Do the Canadians get the sarcasm? Do they get?
Yeah, the Canadians get
the
get
satire.
It. Yeah,
everything that
Canadians.
Goes with it.
Yeah, the Canadians get it, and like there's like the Indian part is like they see the first line, like I'm here to talk about upholding and respecting the rule of law. That the Canadians don't really get, but the Indians get because that was the Trudeau line he kept using on Nijar and whatever.
So Indians react in a particular manner towards Trudeau. Everybody reacts in the same manner in India towards Trudeau.
Trudeau has really united India.
How does Canada see Modi? Do they think of him as somebody trying to topple a Canadian government?
So it depends on what you're in. So Modi has like the same thing of like, there are leaders that are seen as a threat to the, what you would call the globalists, but like the international technocratic left-wing order of, you know, and the expert class who needs law and rule order and democracy, right? Democracy where the experts have rule and the people will shut up, right? So Modi is sort of like Benjamin Netanyahu to the international left. He's so if you're like a hardcore we call him a Truanon, like QAnon, but like the Justin Trudeau faithful, then Modi is a demon, right? If you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a demon sent to whatever, it's the same sort of, like, again, the attacks they're using on India, it's from the anti-Israel playbook. It's the same thing. And I noticed this in 2019 when the Kashmir 370 started coming, and I'm going, what the hell are people talking about? Genocide with this kind of thing? And then I'm like, oh, you have Palestinians. That's the problem here, right? So for people who are in that, you know, upper middle class, mostly like good-hearted liberal, and you have, you know, Modi, Trump, Netanyahu are sort of in this sort of, you know, seen as like anti-establishment. So if you're like really, really pro-Trump, right, and you're in that Trump camp, then you probably like those figures, unless you're a deranged anti-Semite, then like Netanyahu is the boogeyman to all of you. But the average Canadian who, if you're not like into this, Modi's just the Prime Minister of India.
That's
right.
It. Yeah.
And if you're a CBC reader and whatever, then you like, oh, he's an Islamophobic, genocidal, blah 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 blah. Right. If you think Israel's committing a genocide in Gaza when the population is increasing, then you probably think Modi's committing a genocide against someone for something as well. So your opinion of Modi, if you're not Indian, is pretty much indicative of like your position on a bunch of other issues. But generally he's not thought of as like a Xi Jinping, Narendra Modi, Kim Jong-un figure. He doesn't fit into that class. He's much more analogous to your views on Trump, Netanyahu, Modi.
And also whatever kind of news that you consume, I guess.
You know, my sense of the entire India-Canada standoff, and when it came to Canadians and the reaction was, I think this was a major reaction that I sensed. Why are we fighting with India? That was a genuine reaction.
Yeah.
Because even Canadians...
That was my first reaction. Like the first video was like, what are we doing?
They started scratching their heads as like, the first image for the Western world, whether we like, okay, yeah, India, poor compared to the West. They get all of that. But still a democracy, the only bright spot in the entire region. You know, you take Israel and then you have to go all the way in between. Maybe South Korea, they had a military coup, so I don't know whether they had a democracy or not. We're the stable ones, right? Israel and India are the two stable democracies in a large part of this region. So that whether we like it or not, actually Indians do have that image. And then they are seeing, why are we fighting with India? And then it was like, oh, Indians killed an activist. I think that was the biggest mistake the Khalistanis made in flipping this around. Because till then, the Canadian did not care. Then the Canadians started caring. And then they looked up who Nijjar was. The Interpol notices, the no-fly list, the Khalistan Tiger Force emblem.
And
the
Khalistani movement has tied themselves to Trudeau.
Yeah.
So
and you remember Pannu and his statement, I have been consulting the Prime Minister's office for the last 3 years.
So
Pannu has damaged the Sikh community
they've overplayed their
single-handedly
hand
more than anyone else.
Because they're so tied into the Trudeau stuff. Like, they're a bit smarter than the jihadis in the sense that the jihadis would never wave a Canadian flag. They would burn it instantly because for the Ummah. The Khalistanis are really smart enough to wave Canadian-American flags to say
why are they waving American flags in Canada? What sense does it make? I mean, I have never understood that bit. I think the best thing that could have happened to the whole India-Canada Khalistan angle, because see, India, what are Indian interests in Canada? The primary interest is India is very sensitive about national security. You talk to... The Khalistanis are disliked by everyone, right? Even the communists dislike the Khalistanis. Khalistanis have a special achievement. They literally are disliked by everyone in India. So if that is the case, India's interest in Canada has been, since the 80s, please, even the Air India bombers, India had warned them. There is ample evidence of that. India had warned them. India has said, please don't do that. We are very sensitive about it. The next thing India has always been interested in, can we do trade, right? And that is in the interest of both the countries.
Both the countries, yeah.
But the Khalistanis have infiltrated that system beyond imagination. And now I'm glad we did that video and we exposed the Liberal Party nomination race. Because 3 years ago when Balraj Deol came on my podcast and said the same thing in a nice civilized way, nobody paid attention. But when we made a little mockery out of it, everybody pays attention.
You sign up redacted,
Shams show.
redacted, L.
Yeah, so that's the whole
Yeah.
point. Now everybody knows. And now, listen, I'm a Canadian landed immigrant. I should not be allowed to vote in any
the
Canadian
system
primary.
is broken.
I should not be allowed to vote in any Canadian primary. Even the Conservatives allow landed immigrants to vote in the primaries. No, only Canadian passport holders should be allowed to decide the fate, whether it's an internal election, a primary, or an actual election. It's ridiculous.
It's just, it would be like now a far right position. Say, like, I think only citizens should vote in our election.
How can this be a far right position?
Okay.
Well,
Imagine, Smita, India mein hum agar
I'm
we
not
allow
against
this.
immigration. Like, and then like some people like
But that's a basic.
some,
Is it Indians find it funny when you say that Americans don't need to give proof of residence?
It's ridiculous.
Or they don't have to give proof of citizenship when they go to vote.
Show me ID.
Show me your ID. Of course, you need to show an ID.
Idiots.
We don't think twice about thinking something.
we
like
show
that.
ID in Canada. You have to show
Yeah.
ID to vote in Canada.
Yeah.
Because it's just a natural, non-stupid thing. But like, the problem is, okay, so Canada, when there are elections between the Liberals, the NDP, the Conservatives, the Bloc, the Green, those are real. It's the first world.
Yeah, that's
The votes are
under
counted.
Elections Canada. Their election commission.
But when parties have their own internal elections, that's not even third world, it's fourth world.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all.
I think even Africa would have more
could
honest
be-
elections.
Yeah, you could be like non-elected bureaucrats who control things can disqualify who this and that. It's the wild, wild west. There's no laws. There's no laws against election interference, election tampering, or anything when it's inside a party. It's Wild West. The parties have.
But that there should be some
But
kind
it's
of
not just
guardrails
the Liberals
for
and the
entry
NDP.
into politics,
see,
right?
There
here's where
should.
Yeah.
You would think that.
the Conservatives are slightly better, but just last month there were murmurs of one particular Conservative primary being rigged. Smita, imagine, let's say the eligible population that can vote in a primary is 500 hypothetically. And more than 500 people are voting in that primary.
Yeah.
How can
Happens.
that happen? And that happens with alarming consistency in Canada.
There are ballot box stuffing. There's 5 candidates for a party. The night before the election, 4 disqualified.
It's crazy. What happens? Why and disproportionate number of Khalistanis win through this, and good. What happened to Ujjal Dosanjh? Do you agree with Ujjal Dosanjh's economic policy? No, I don't. But I look up to him. I have never hidden the fact that I literally look up to him.
Yeah, he's wrong on policy. He's a Canadian patriot
He
hero.
is such a patriotic Canadian, and the way he was treated.
Hounded out. Yeah.
He opted out eventually because he realized that, listen, I can't survive in this system. And like, I have had enough of this. And he literally, he just
Same
said,
with
I
Ramesh
quit.
Sangha, another Sikh
Ramesh
MP
Sangha from Brampton, he got death threats. And this is the pattern over there. And then if I say, oh, Khalistanis literally control your system in many ways, they're like, no. Then now we have more people saying it. Now it's inignorable, but it's good. I think it's a net positive.
Okay, time to wind up. So, what's on the agenda, Daniel? Where all are you going and what all are you interfering with? Which next country are you going?
I'm interfering with all the countries.
Bangladesh next?
Bangladesh. I'll be interfering with that. But yeah, we're going around. I don't want to reveal too many of my plans because again, listen.
Of course, Prime Minister elections,
Prime
right?
Minister. I'll be running for Prime Minister of Canada here in India. I'll be interfering with your country, my country, wherever you're watching this. I'm currently interfering in your country's politics by default. Yeah, I'm going to keep some of the cards close to the chest because I don't need, one of Pandu's friends coming to follow me around the country. But there's a bunch of interviews lined up. There's parts of the countries I want to see. I'm going to keep some of it a bit secret.
Secret.
So
Okay.
then I'll just pop up out of nowhere doing some foreign interference. Like, so just,
So we look forward to your
look,
videos.
if you're in India, just watch out. You might see some crazy white guy doing foreign interference on the street near you. There'll be lots of foreign interference. I have tons of interview requests and there's some things I have to do. But yes, there are nefarious schemes being hatched.
Okay.
By me and Narendra Modi, who is paid for and again physically picked me up and flew me on his private jet to India, and is having me run around right now.
All right. On that note, thank you very much, gentlemen,
Thank you.
for
Thank
coming
you for having
from
me.
Bombay and from Mumbai
Yes.
and being part of the podcast. All the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you.
you. Bye.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you for watching and listening to this edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.